Chapter 1887, Supreme Quality Saint Artifact. All the God Kings in the nearby divine kingdoms had gathered here. They stared at the 8 God King corpses in the rubble, and all of them fell silent. None of them were able to remain calm at this sight. Their hearts were in turmoil. Before long, the God Kings all dispersed. They did not touch a single thing there. Even for the God King corpses, they only looked at them from afar. They did not dare to approach it, as that could lead to some unneeded problems. At the same time, the Divine King stood very casually on the tallest structure within the royal palace of the Divine Kingdom of Pingtian in simple, white clothes. His deep eyes were fixated in the direction of the mountains of Seven's despair. He had already expanded the senses of his soul. It crossed through the entire Divine Kingdom of Pingtian and the Divine Kingdom of Qingyang, plunging into the depths of the mountains. This person is so powerful. After quite a while, the Divine King said this sternly. His face was extremely solemn. Jian Chen's presence has completely vanished from the mountains of Seven's despair. The primordial realm expert forcefully removed it. If it weren't for the fact that I knew already Jian Chen had entered the mountains, I definitely wouldn't have known someone else had entered the mountains beside the primordial realm expert. I can basically conclude that the primordial realm expert who devastated the mountains is the soul that appeared in God King Duanmu's dwelling before. However, I just wonder whether she has returned to her peak condition or not. The power of laws that have permeated the mountains has surpassed most primordial realm experts already. If she still hasn't recovered to her peak condition, then she is just too powerful, the Divine King murmured to himself softly. The light in his eyes flickered uneasily. In an ancient mountain range within the Divine Kingdom of Pingtian, Jian Chen and Fairy Haoyu stayed in a temporary cave that they had created. A huge luminous pearl was wedged into the ceiling, giving off gentle light that illuminated the cave. Jian Chen sat on the ground. He stared at Fairy Haoyu, who also sat on the ground before him, or more accurately, he stared at the void cloud flower in Fairy Haoyu's hands. The void cloud flower was similar to the flower of ways. It was planted in the huge piece of jade and slowly absorbed the jade's formation to grow. Formations at the level of God Kings protected the flowers and the jade. Fairy Haoyu was currently removing the formations. However, with her strength at the primordial realm, removing formations at the level of God Kings was naturally a piece of cake. The formation was destroyed after 2 hours. If it were not for the fact that Fairy Haoyu was worried about damaging the flower, there would be completely no need for her to spend 2 hours with her strength. Once the laws of the primordial realm had descended, she would only need a single strike to obliterate the formation. Jian Chen held the ether cloud flower and sniffed its familiar fragrance. He was extremely excited inside. This was a god-tier heavenly resource. He was basically completely confident he could wake up Kaya with the flower. The void cloud flower is precious, but it's only used to nourish the flower of ways. The flower of ways is what is truly precious, said Fairy Haoyu. She stared at him and said sternly, the most precious part of the flower of ways is not the terrifying essence hidden inside, which can be used to increase a person's cultivation. Instead, it's the comprehension of the laws of the world within the flower. It can basically increase a God King's chance of reaching the primordial realm by 50%. Moreover, not only is the flower of ways effective for God Kings, but it can even assist infinite primes to a certain degree as well. It can increase the chances for a breakthrough between minor cultivation levels by 20%. As a result, I can basically conclude that the flower of ways is a treasure for the 9th prince to break through to infinite prime. Its importance to him is evident. From today onwards, you have to be careful about the 9th prince. Once he finds any traces that lead back to you, it'll be extremely bad for you. After all, I can't always be by your side. Fairy Haoyu warned Jian Chen seriously and sternly. Jian Chen was still weak right now after all. He was completely powerless against the ninth prince who possessed authority in the Eternal Blood Sun Empire of the southern region. This was because the Eternal Blood Sun Empire was basically the ruler of the southern region. Jian Chen nodded seriously. He also understood the importance of the matter. Afterwards, Jian Chen remembered something. He took out all the over-god plant cores and monster cores he had collected from the Yin Mountains of Seven's Despair and asked Fairy Haoyu to refine the poison within them. The monster cores at the level of over-gods were filled with poison. With his current chaotic body, he was unable to absorb it directly. He needed a god king to refine the poison inside with the power from their cultivation. Now that there just happened to be an expert like that before him, Jian Chen would never miss the opportunity. Naturally, Fairy Haoyu did not turn him down. She erupted with the cultivation of an early god king and directly refined the cores. The refinement lasted for an entire day. Only then did Fairy Haoyu remove all the poison within the 6 cores. Only extremely pure and turbulent energy was left. After handing the 6 cores back to Jian Chen, Fairy Haoyu said, "I still can't refine the God King level cores on you with my current cultivation, so I'll leave them with you for now. Once I reach the primordial realm, I'll be able to refine them." "Oh right. I came across this piece of armor accidentally. It's a supreme quality saint artifact and possesses extraordinary defense. Just the armor itself can withstand several attacks from God Kings. It's useless for me, so you take it." With a flip of her hand, an exquisitely crafted armor appeared. She directly tossed it to Jian Chen like it was garbage. Afterwards, Fairy Haoyu bid farewell to Jian Chen. She left by herself, planning on using the Flower of Ways to recover some of her strength. Jian Chen sat in the cave by himself after her departure. He held the supreme quality saint artifact as his feelings became mixed. It had been painful for him to buy a high-quality saint artifact in the past, yet now, he had obtained a supreme quality saint artifact, and it was a defensive one at that. Defensive saint artifacts were worth far more than offensive saint artifacts at the same quality. Meanwhile, the armor he held right now had already reached supreme quality. It was so valuable that Jian Chen struggled to fathom its value. Supreme quality saint artifacts were treasures that were the closest to God artifacts after all. Jian Chen sucked in a deep breath and slowly calmed himself down. An album stone heart flower, a void cloud flower, 6 over God level cores, 8 God King level cores, the corpse of a golden-striped silver snake, and a supreme quality saint artifact. He directly sighed about his trip to the Yin Mountains of Seven's Despair. He had benefited far too greatly. It's time for me to go back. With these 6 cores, I should finally be able to make a breakthrough with my chaotic body. It's already very difficult for me to find opponents among the level of overgods. If I make another breakthrough with the chaotic body, just what level will my battle prowess reach? Jian Chen felt his blood boil when he thought up to there. He was filled with anticipation. Chapter 1888, Kaya awakens. Jian Chen returned to the Tian Yuan clan and immediately entered a secret room. With a wave of his hand, the crystal casket flew out of the bright moon divine hall. The fist-sized 7-colored heaven-devouring beast lied on the crystal casket. However, it was different from before. It was not cultivating. Instead, it stared at Kaya's face. Its intelligent eyes were rather doubtful. At the same time, it was filled with anticipation. In reality, it had been like that for a very long time already. Ever since Jian Chen fought the God King in the Yin Mountains of Seven's Despair, it had been like that. Naturally, Jian Chen paid no mind to the 7-colored heaven-devouring beast's abnormality. He arrived before the crystal casket and slowly lifted the lid. He also activated the formations around the room. Only after doing all that did he take out the album stone heart flower and the void cloud flower he obtained from within the Yin Mountains of Seven's Despair. Instantly, a heavy fragrance permeated the surroundings. Just a single breath was enough to clear the mind and make people feel extremely comfortable. The fragrance had been firmly isolated within the tiny room and did not drift out. Otherwise, the fragrance would have spread across the entire provincial city in an extremely short amount of time. After all, this was a void cloud flower that had reached God tier. The eyes of the seven-colored heaven-devouring beast immediately lit up. It finally looked away from Kaya and stared at the two flowers in Jian Chen's hands. It became excited as it revolved around Jian Chen happily while buzzing its wings. It was as if it was already certain that Jian Chen would be able to wake up Kaya this time. Jian Chen hesitated slightly with the two heavenly resources before he finally decided to use the album stone heart flower first. If the flower could awaken Kaya, he would be able to save a god-tier heavenly resource. Very soon, Jian Chen fed the flower into Kaya's mouth. Instantly, it turned into a ball of energy that gathered towards Kaya's soul. Jian Chen stared at Kaya without blinking at all. Deep concern flooded his face, along with some anticipation. Time passed silently. Very soon, it had already been 4 hours since Kaya ingested the album stone heart flower. She still had not roused. Looks like I won't be able to save the void cloud flower, Jian Chen thought before feeding the god-tier heavenly resource into Kaya's mouth without any hesitation. He could not help but think to himself, you're clearly just a saint emperor, but you need so many heavenly resources for your soul. This is the first time I've ever seen something so weird. However, the void cloud flower is a heavenly resource at the highest grade I have ever obtained. If that doesn't work, I'm really out of options. Kaya, you have got to wake up. Jian Chen was eager. He and the seven-colored heaven-devouring beast currently paid complete attention to Kaya. However, at this moment, Jian Chen's expression changed. The jade talisman with a sliver of the power from his soul he had originally left in the Tian Yuan clan had shattered. Jian Chen's expression changed slightly. Now that the talisman had shattered, it meant that the Tian Yuan clan faced a huge threat. The threat was so great that it could directly affect the survival of the clan. Jian Chen immediately turned around and left. He appeared in the clan and directly charged for the discussion hall. All the elders had already gathered in the discussion hall. They sat on their seats sternly, causing the atmosphere in the entire hall to be rather heavy. What has happened? Jian Chen sat down on his throne and asked sternly. Patriarch, the divine kingdom of 3 cauldrons was devastated 3 days ago. 2 of their 3 god kings were killed by the commander of the 9th army, with only the divine king escaping with wounds. However, just then, we received news that the 7th and 8th armies of the Empyrean demon cult have been mobilized together. They're currently meeting up with the 9th army, and they're directly heading towards our divine kingdom of Ping Tian. Mo Ling stood up and said sternly. Jian Chen stood up from the patriarch's throne. The light in his eyes flickered with uncertainty, and he said sternly, this matter is probably far more complicated than it seems for 3 armies of the Empyrean demon cult to be mobilized together. It probably has nothing to do with the 3 overgods I killed a few days ago. 3 overgods aren't enough for the Empyrean demon cult to send 3 armies. Report. At this moment, a guard rushed in. He dropped to one knee and called out, Patriarch, special messengers from the royal capital are currently waiting outside. Let them in, said Jian Chen. Yes, Patriarch. Very soon, a few gods hurried in from the outside sternly. They were special messengers from the royal capital who especially carried the divine king's words, so their statuses were great. However, after they entered the Tian Yuan clan, all of them concealed their arrogance. The special messengers bowed towards Jian Chen politely. Afterwards, one of them said extremely politely, esteemed patriarch of the Tian Yuan clan, we have come under orders from His Majesty to ask the patriarch to visit the royal capital and discuss important matters. I understand. When you return, please tell His Majesty that I will arrive soon, Jian Chen said to the special messengers. While Jian Chen was discussing important matters with the upper echelon of the Tian Yuan clan, Kaiya's eyelashes began to tremble once again in the formation-ridden room. The trembling was unlike last time, which had only lasted for a single moment. Instead, it continued to tremble, trembling more and more intensely as if she was trying very hard to open her eyes. Naturally, the seven-colored heaven-devouring beast sensed this, as it had always been paying attention to Kaiya. It cried out happily and constantly revolved around the crystal casket. It was in high spirits. Finally, Kaiya opened her eyes slowly. What kind of eyes were they? If Jian Chen saw Kaiya's eyes, he definitely would have doubted whether the person before him was Kaiya or not. This was because the eyes were cold and merciless. They were terrifyingly frigid, as if she did not possess any emotion at all. Inside, there was even indifference towards life. It was like an invincible, supreme ruler that controlled the universe, looking down at the lives in the world, viewing them all as ants. The seven-colored heaven-devouring beast stopped flying. It remained in the same position as before, except an invisible energy had frozen it in space and completely immobilized it. The origin energy and the ripples in space within the room were frozen as well. At that moment, the time in the secret room where Kaiya stayed seemed to have come to a stop. Everything stopped changing, as if the scene had become frozen for eternity. At the same time, in outer space beyond the tremendous cloud plain, far beyond the range of what godhood experts could sense, extremely terrifying laws silently condensed. The laws were so powerful that they seemed to be able to replace the laws of the world and represent the will of the world. As a matter of fact, its appearance formed a huge disturbance to all 3,000 laws of the world. All the ancient existences in the superorganizations within the 5 regions of the cloud plane roused from their cultivation. They raised their heads towards outer space as shock filled their faces. What terrifying power of laws! It has basically reached the limit. Even the other laws have become suppressed and disturbed. Who is this? Since when did the cloud plane possess such a powerful figure? What terrifying power of laws! It has basically reached the limit. Even the other laws have become suppressed and disturbed. Who is this? Since when did the cloud plane possess such a powerful figure? These are heavenly laws. Anyone who can achieve something as great as this in terms of laws has basically fused with the laws of the world. They represent the world. Who is it that has reached that level of cultivation? This person is so powerful. With my abilities, I can only sense the power of laws in space. I can't find the person at all. All the ancient existences who had been around for who knows how long from the superorganizations in the 5 regions of the cloud plane cried out at that moment. All of their eyes were filled with angst as their hearts churned. Along with those emotions was a desire to stand at such a level. At the same time, countless powerful senses of the soul spread across the 5 regions of the cloud plane from various places. Every single one of them could engulf the entire cloud plane. The range that was covered was simply shocking. However, even though the ancient existences managed to cover the entire cloud plane in just a single instance, they failed to find the person. Aside from the frightening power of laws that charged up in outer space, they did not even manage to detect the presence of this person at all. The terrifying senses of the soul from these ancient existences were extremely well hidden. As a result, very few peak experts discovered the senses. Even infinite primes were unable to sense it at all. Kaiya's body slowly hovered into the air within the secret room of the Tian Yuan clan. Her cold, emotionless eyes seemed to have shards of light drifting around and changing. In that short instance, she understood her past life. At that moment, she suddenly looked backwards. The inscriptions of the laws of the world seemed to flicker in her eyes. She seemed to have fused with the world, becoming a part of the laws of the world. She was able to learn the past and future with a single glance. She saw everything she had gone through while she was unconscious. She saw Jian Chen carry her crystal casket all the way from the Tian Yuan continent to the saint's world. She saw Jian Chen leave her in the Bright Moon Divine Hall as he struggled all by himself in the saint's world, fighting difficult, bloody battles. She also saw how Jian Chen had almost lost his life when he directly entered the very depths of the Yin Mountains of Seven's despair in order to wake her up with the Void Cloud Flower. Kaiya's gaze became cold and emotionless once again. Her face was cold, without any emotion at all. She gazed through the room and directly saw Jian Chen, who was hosting a meeting in the discussion hall. "Since you've assisted me, I should gift you a huge fortune. Unfortunately, you're with the Immortals world and you obtained the twin swords," Kaiya murmured softly. At that moment, her voice had already changed completely. It was no longer the same as before. Instead, it was extremely strange. Her voice seemed to contain all the sounds in the world. It sounded male if someone believed it to be male. It sounded female if someone believed it to be female. As a matter of fact, if someone believed it to be the cries of birds and beasts, it would sound like the cries of birds and beasts. This was because all the sounds in the world were contained in the short sentence she had just spoken. "Whatever. Since you have formed karmic ties with my reincarnation, I'll leave this reincarnation behind so that she can resolve all the ties you have formed. From now onwards, this reincarnation has nothing to do with me anymore," Kaiya murmured to herself. As she said that, an extremely powerful ball of light hovered out of her forehead. It was a soul, and it formed a hazy figure. The light of the world surrounded the figure, so it was impossible to tell whether they were male or female. The figure in the light gradually extended a finger towards Kaiya's forehead. After sending in some power of the soul that was basically insignificant to it, it removed some memories, only leaving behind the memories that the reincarnation should have possessed. Afterwards, she looked at the seven-colored heaven-devouring beast and said, "Kaiya, I never thought you'd survive the disaster. However, your damaged soul went through samsara, and you lost all your memories. You need to find them yourself." The seven-colored heaven-devouring beast was trapped there. It stared at the figure of light with both angst and confusion. The figure of light was just too powerful. It made it feel fear, but it became completely confused after hearing what the figure said towards the end. Vaguely, it felt an intense familiarity from the figure of light. It originated from its very soul, making it feel extremely safe. At the same time, it experienced a sense of belonging. This feeling was the same as what it felt from Kaiya. It was exactly because of this that it had followed the much weaker Kaiya of its own accord, spending all its time near her. In the end, the figure of light extended its hand and gently brushed past the center of the seven-colored heaven-devouring beast's eyes. It sealed up that short memory. The seven-colored heaven-devouring beast closed its eyes and immediately fainted. A gentle power laid it down on the floor. At that moment, Kaiya's eyes had closed as well. She returned to the crystal casket. At that moment, the figure of light suddenly vanished completely, having left silently. The formations around the room outside were completely useless against it. Jian Chen finished his meeting in the discussion hall of the Tian Yuan clan. He announced that the entire clan would be on high vigilance, and the teleportation formation he had prepared would be ready to be used at any time. Once the divine kingdom of Ping Tian fell, all the people of the Tian Yuan clan would leave through the formation. Jian Chen immediately hurried back to the secret room after the meeting. The unconscious seven-colored heaven-devouring beast opened its eyes at that moment as well. It looked around at its surroundings in some confusion, and it seemed to remember something. It suddenly flew up from the ground and arrived before the crystal coffin. Right now, it had completely forgotten what had happened earlier, as if the memory had been erased from its head. Jian Chen walked into the room from the outside. He looked at Kaiya, who remained within the crystal coffin, and he frowned. He murmured, "How come she's still not awake? Is a void cloud flower not enough to wake Kaiya up? It's a god-tier heavenly resource after all." Jian Chen arrived before the crystal coffin and stared at Kaya, who laid there peacefully. He felt rather troubled inside, unsure as to what to do. What's a void cloud flower? However, at this moment, Kaya, who laid in the coffin, said something absent-mindedly. Afterwards, her eyes finally opened. The sudden voice made Jian Chen's face jump. When he saw Kaya's eyes open, jubilance flooded his face. Kaya, you're finally awake. Do you remember how long you've been unconscious for? Jian Chen asked happily. The void cloud flower really had not disappointed him. How did I fall unconscious? Kaya was slightly confused, but gradually, she remembered the past. She remembered an origin realm expert from the world of Forsaken Saints took her away during the war. Jian Chen, did you save me? How long have I been unconscious for? And where is this? Kaya looked around in confusion. Chapter 1890, Chanlong's Chance at Survival. You've already been unconscious for 100 years. In that time, a lot of things have happened. We're no longer on the Tian Yuan continent. Instead, we have arrived in a higher world. This place is called the Saints' World, Jian Chen said. He explained everything that had happened after Kaya fell unconscious, without missing any detail at all. This included the ceasefire between the Tian Yuan continent and the world of Forsaken Saints, as well as the catastrophe with the evil spirit that had happened afterwards, and so on. He even told Kaya about how he founded the Tian Yuan clan in the Saints' World. Not only did Kaya share the same homeland as him, coming from the same world as him, but she was also a good friend of his. As a result, he naturally hid nothing from Kaya. Kaya fell silent after learning that so many things had happened while she was unconscious. To her, the 100 years had been a dream. She had no idea when it passed, and now that she had woken up, the world around her had completely changed. Clearly, she needed time to digest and accept this fact. I never thought I'd actually be in another world after I woke up, Kaya mumbled. She seemed rather dejected and sad. She could not help but think about her life back in the sea realm. She thought about her devastated clan and her dead father. She knew that it would probably be very difficult to return now that she had come to the Saints' World. Even if she could return, she had no idea how long she would have to wait. The seven-colored heaven-devouring beast flew to Kaya's shoulder, as it sensed her sadness. It rubbed its small head against Kaya's cheek gently, trying to comfort Kaya in its own way. Thank you for saving me, Jian Chen. I want some time by myself, Kaya said to Jian Chen. Her voice was very gentle, and it possessed a faint sense of sadness. Jian Chen nodded. He did not disturb Kaya any longer, leaving the secret room. At the same time, in the extremely distant Heavenly Moon Empire, a white-robed old man with white hair sat in the best room within an inn in the imperial capital. He held and studied a palm-sized azure disk. Jian Chen is becoming more and more powerful. There's probably very few people who can match his rate of progress. At this rate, he'll reach God King even sooner than me. The Heavenly Moon Empire isn't small, but it's just too close to the divine kingdom of Pingtian. Looks like I have to travel further away or even leave the cloud plain, the old man murmured to himself as he sat on his bed. He seemed slightly worried. The old man was Master Chanlong. With Master Chanlong's abilities, even if Jian Chen was more powerful than him, there was no reason for him to fear Jian Chen so much. At most, he could just find an organization to join and use them to eliminate Jian Chen. It was nothing difficult to him. However, in the past few years, the trapped soul had constantly mentioned that it could see the future, and it could see the moment when Jian Chen killed him. If it were someone else and not the trapped soul, Master Chanlong would have never believed it. He would snicker at them instead. However, in all these years, he gradually discovered that the soul really did seem to be able to tell the future. He truly experienced everything it had once mentioned in the past, which gradually affected Master Chanlong's head, making him believe that he really was doomed. Even if he joined a powerful organization, he would still die to Jian Chen. As a result, Master Chanlong only hoped to be further away from Jian Chen right now. He wished to avoid this calamity. This was all because everything that the trapped soul had said affected him greatly. However, now that the Empyrean demon cult is turning on the divine kingdom of Pingtian, I really do hope that Jian Chen dies to the hands of them, said Master Chanlong. Old man Chanlong, quit dreaming. I can see countless karmic ties Jian Chen has with the Empyrean demon cult. It's so complicated that it has exceeded anyone's imaginations. The Empyrean demon cult is both a blessing and a curse to Jian Chen. Keep dreaming if you want Jian Chen to die to the Empyrean demon cult. I can already see your future. No matter how hard you try, you won't be able to avoid death, said the trapped soul. His voice directly drifted out from the space ring. It was still sealed within a set of formation banners. At this moment, the soul suddenly produced an interjection of surprise. It seemed to be experiencing a high, and it loudly said, "It has changed, it has changed. There's a change. Old man Chanlong, go to the Dong'an province of the divine kingdom of Pingtian. I can see a chance at survival for you. It's your only hope, so don't miss it." Shiyu currently stood within the sea of flowers in the gardens of the Tian Yuan clan. Her lonely and black figure seemed to possess a trace of sadness. She tightly held a jade pendant that was only 3 fingers wide. The jade pendant was made from some unknown material. It was extremely tough, and its design was extremely exquisite. It depicted a dragon and phoenix while the 2 words, Shiyu, were carved into its center. Shiyu always carried this jade pendant with her. To her, it was the most important object in her life. In the past few years, she took it out frequently and stood in a daze in a quiet place where no one could disturb her. She did not think of anything, remaining in a daze quietly. She had not been born into the Mo clan. When she was young, the patriarch of the Mo clan had found her outside. She was only a newly born infant back then. Even until now, Shiyu still had no idea who her true parents were and whether they were still alive in the world or not. There was only the jade pendant that was extremely likely to be left behind by her parents. Her name, Shiyu, came from the jade pendant as well. What are you thinking about? When Shiyu returned to her senses, a familiar voice rang out. Jian Chen had already arrived beside her at a certain time, and he was staring at the jade pendant in her hand curiously. Patriarch, Shiyu responded politely, but she seemed to be in low spirits. Can I see the jade pendant you're holding? Jian Chen asked. Shiyu hesitated lightly before giving the pendant to Jian Chen. Jian Chen took the pendant and examined it in his hand. His face gradually grew stern. Shiyu said in low spirits, "My foster father said that when he found me outside, this jade pendant was the only thing on me. Perhaps it was left for me by my parents." Patriarch, why do you think they're cold-hearted enough to abandon their own daughter? This jade pendant is extraordinary. Although I don't know what has been used to craft the pendant, I can tell with a single glance that it's precious. Jian Chen returned the pendant to Shiyu. He stared at her with mixed feelings and said, "Your parents must have experienced inexplicable reasons for abandoning you. Maybe they were being hunted down by their enemies, so they had no choice." Jian Chen sighed gently after reaching there. He said, "In the past, I was the same as you. I too was an infant. I did not know who my parents were, and even until I died, I did not find my parents." Jian Chen could not help but think of his former life. In that life, he was alone. He used the incomplete Azulite sword's law to practice a sword style that was enough for him to dominate the Jianghu. In just his 20s, he became the greatest swordsman in the Jianghu. Fortunately, the world did not abandon him. In his second life, which was his current life, he had a family, allowing him to experience the warmth of one. Xiu stared at Jian Chen in a daze. She never thought that Jian Chen had actually experienced something just as pitiful as herself. She actually experienced sympathy in that moment. Jian Chen dismissed his feelings. He took out a single origin-gathering flowers he had obtained from the Divine King and said, "This flower can gather the energy of the world. Xiu, there'll probably be a great battle soon. Use this flower to cultivate and become an over-god as soon as possible. With your talent and the comprehension of the laws of the sword that I've engraved, becoming an over-god shouldn't be difficult at all." Xiu was already a late god over-god now. Ever since Jian Chen engraved his comprehension of the laws of the sword, Xiu's strength had soared. She could be described as making great progress every day. Chapter 1891, The Greatest Over-God Clan. After giving the origin-gathering flower to Xiu, Jian Chen left for the forbidden grounds in the clan. Xiu held the origin-gathering flower. Even though she understood its value, where even many god kings did not possess it, she was not paying any attention to it at all. Her eyes were in a slight daze as she stared at Jian Chen's back, all the way until Jian Chen vanished from her vision. At this moment, the effects of the origin-gathering flower were fully displayed. A mysterious suction seemed to affect the dense origin energy that had gathered within the Tian Yuan clan at that moment. It began to gather from all directions, arriving around the origin-gathering flower in Xiu's hands. The origin energy around the flower had turned into a mist, as it was extremely tremendous in quantity. The people who had followed Jian Chen up from the lower world basically all cultivated in the forbidden grounds of the clan. Jian Chen had once spent much effort and resources to design the forbidden grounds. As a result, the origin energy there was the densest in the clan. There was a faint white mist in the entire area. The white mist was no regular mist. Rather, it was the materialization of origin energy once it had reached a certain concentration. In the forbidden grounds, Jian Chen sat by himself at a stone table. He made tea for himself and sipped it slowly. He seemed to be at leisure, but his face did not seem relaxed at all. His brows would furrow and unfurrow from time to time. He seemed to be in thought as a sliver of worry would appear on his face from time to time as well. Something seemed to weigh on his heart. Now that the Tian Yuan clan has gained a stable footing in the divine kingdom of Ping Tian, it really hasn't been easy. I hope we can make it through the large-scale invasion from the three armies of the Empyrean demon cult, Jian Chen said to himself softly. He felt very pressured when the three armies of the Empyrean demon cult advanced together towards the divine kingdom of Ping Tian. This was because he was not alone. There were quite a few powerful clans behind him with many people. It had not been easy for him to set up everything in the Dong'an province. It would be best if he did not have to let it all go. At this moment, there was a flash of gold light. The golden-robed nubis suddenly appeared before Jian Chen. He did not act politely at all, sitting before Jian Chen by himself. He picked up Jian Chen's tea and poured himself a cup. He said, "Brother Jian Chen, you're a busybody now. It really is hard to see you in the clan. In the past few decades, I've only seen you a few times at most." Jian Chen smiled helplessly, "We've all reached godhood. If we cultivate in seclusion, 100 years can pass in the blink of an eye and 1,000 years feels like 10 seconds. What are a few decades in comparison? From today onwards, not seeing me for thousands or even tens of thousand years will be commonplace." "That does seem reasonable," nubis nodded in agreement. He looked at Jian Chen and continued, "Though, I don't think you've called me, the great nubis, over alone just to catch up on the past together. There must be something else." "That's right. I've called you over today to give you something," said Jian Chen. He directly tossed a space ring to nubis. Nubis did not mind it too much. To him, Jian Chen's gift was probably divine crystals or heavenly resources. However, when he saw what was in the space ring, he immediately paled in fright. He jumped up out of shock as surprise filled his face. "Oh my lord, www, what is this thing? Jianchen, where did you get this?" Nubi's eyes widened as he stared at Jianchen in intense shock. Disbelief filled his face. It's actually so powerful. It's dead, yet it still has such a terrifying presence. I must have seen wrong. I must have seen wrong, Nubis murmured. His voice trembled slightly as he rubbed his eyes forcefully. He was tempted to stick his entire head into the space ring to get a clear look at it. In the end, after confirming it many times, he had to accept that what he saw was real. The item in the space ring was the corpse of the golden-striped silver snake from the Een Mountains of Seven's Despair. It was a late god king. "If I remember correctly, this should be of great use to you," said Jianchen. Nubis nodded furiously. He said excitedly, "It's not just of great use. It's basically a huge fortune to me. If I absorb his hidden essence, my bloodline will become even more powerful and even more terrifying. My strength will undergo an overwhelming transformation as well." "Jianchen, where did you get this corpse from? It must have been an over-god before it died at the very least." Jianchen shook his head. "It was a late god king before it died, except an expert that was even more terrifying killed it. I only managed to salvage the corpse." "What? A late god king?" Nubis was dumbfounded. God kings were figures of legends to him. Jianchen's face suddenly became stern. He said, "The background of this golden-striped silver snake is extraordinary. In order to avoid a nightmare, please absorb the hidden essence as quickly as you can and destroy the corpse afterwards. You can't leave any trace of it, or we'll be in deep trouble." Nubis understood the severity of the matter when he saw how stern Jianchen was. He said, "Don't worry, the great Nubis, will never disappoint you. Let's not waste time. I'll go into seclusion right now." Nubis left in an excited hurry. Jianchen was also filled with eagerness as he watched Nubis leave. He had no idea just what level of strength Nubis would reach once he absorbed all the hidden essence within the late god king golden-striped silver snake. However, there was one thing he was certain about. Once Nubis emerged from seclusion, his strength would have undergone an overwhelming transformation. It would have increased drastically. At this moment, Jianchen's face grew serious. He stared in the direction where Shangguan Mu'er was cultivating before immediately activating all the formations in the Forbidden Grounds, isolating it from the outside world. After Jianchen completed all that, an extremely powerful presence erupted from where Shangguan Mu'er cultivated. The presence was so powerful that it should have shaken up the entire provincial city. However, due to the isolation through the formations, none of the presence managed to make it out. All the people cultivating in the Forbidden Grounds were alarmed. They emerged from their rooms and stared in Shangguan Mu'er's direction. Envy and joy filled their faces. Shangguan Mu'er had finally broken through at that moment. She had broken free from the chains of being a god, becoming an over-god. Fantastic. Mu'er has become an over-god as well. Coupled with Shan Jian, the Tian Yuan clan already has 3 over-gods, Jianchen murmured to himself excitedly. In the neighboring divine kingdoms, even the most powerful clans possessed 2 over-gods at most. However, after just a few short decades of being founded, the Tian Yuan clan already possessed 3 over-gods. Coupled with Jianchen's battle prowess, which was enough for him to stand supreme among over-gods, the Tian Yuan clan had unknowingly become the greatest over-god clan in the region. Chapter 1892, Kaiya's changed. Shangguan Mu'er gradually emerged from her room within the forbidden grounds of the Tian Yuan clan. Her tight, purple dress sculpted her perfect, curvy body while her black hair was casually draped behind her. Her enchanting eyes shone brightly, giving off a sense of charm. Clearly, she was unable to conceal her presence, as she had just broken through. When she emerged from the room, the pressure of an over-god radiated from her. From time to time, a powerful pulse of energy would gush from her weak-looking body, causing her hair and clothes to flutter despite the absence of wind. Coupled with her otherworldly presence, she seemed like an immortal woman descending on a mortal's world. The people from the Tian Yuan continent immediately came up to congratulate her. Even Shen Jian had hurried over personally. The Tian Yuan clan had gained another over-god. This was an extremely important matter to the Tian Yuan clan, and it held great significance. After exchanging pleasantries, everyone dispersed, leaving only Jian Chen and Shengguan Mu'er behind. Jian Chen and Shengguan Mu'er held hands and walked out of the forbidden grounds. They strolled around leisurely in the beautiful, fragrant gardens as they spoke to each other softly. They smiled faintly as they discussed matters that only husband and wife would talk about. They also talked about the threat of the Empyrean demon cult as well as the future direction of the clan. Jian Chen, don't bite off more than you can chew. Once we can't stop the Empyrean demon cult, retreat with the clansmen, Shengguan Mu'er tried to comfort Jian Chen. She spoke with some worry. She understood just how unwilling Jian Chen was to part with the Tian Yuan clan through their conversation. Founded in the Dong'an province, the province held great significance to the clan. It could be described as their ancestral lands. After all, they who had come up from a lower world appeared in the Dong'an province, so Jian Chen naturally possessed a unique attachment to the place. I still don't want to give up on this place until the final moment. Although I've already chosen the Heavenly Moon Empire as a path of retreat, the Tian Yuan clan won't be able to exist as peacefully there as it does in the Dong'an province, Jian Chen said with a heavy heart. Shengguan Mu'er's beautiful eyes shone. She stared into Jian Chen's eyes seriously and said gently, "You're worrying about the Earth Spirit sect in the Heavenly Moon Empire?" The Earth Spirit sect is one of the two great sects of the Heavenly Moon Empire. Even the imperial family has to show some respect to them. That's more than enough to show that it's extremely likely that the Earth Spirit sect has a primordial realm expert at the very least. Jian Chen frowned. If I were all alone, there would naturally be no need to fear, but I have an entire clan behind me. If you go to the Heavenly Moon Empire and the Earth Spirit sect purposefully makes things difficult for you, we'll only end up on different sides to them. With my current strength, we're nowhere near their opponent. Jian Chen, have you ever considered that by the time we become complete enemies with the Earth Spirit sect, you'll already possess strength on par with the primordial realm, and there would be no reason for you to fear them? It's impossible for me to make no progress during that time either, said Shengguan Mu'er. Afterwards, the zither of the demonic cry appeared in Shengguan Mu'er's hands. She stared at it with mixed feelings and said, "This zither is very extraordinary. Even with my strength at over-god, I still don't understand it fully. Whenever my strength increases to a new level, I will learn the cultivation method for the next level from the zither. So far, I have a cultivation method that can allow me to directly cultivate until God King. If I have enough time, I am confident that I can repel the Earth Spirit sect." Jian Chen was surprised by that. He examined the zither of the demonic cry closely and said heavily after a while, "This zither is indeed extraordinary. I can't tell its grade at all, but I'm certain it's not a saint artifact. It's extremely likely to be a god artifact." Jian Chen frowned away afterwards, "But if it's a god artifact, I don't sense the special characteristics of god artifacts from it. Can I have a look at the zither?" At this moment, Kaya walked over from afar in a water-blue dress. She stared at the zither. "Kaya, you've awoken?" Shengguan Mu'er was stunned as she said in some surprise. All of them understood that Jian Chen had taken the unconscious Kaya into the saint's world within a crystal casket. Kaya arrived before Shengguan Mu'er and stared at the zither for quite a while. She gently furrowed her brows and said, "For some reason, this zither is slightly familiar to me." Kaya furrowed her brows in thought, but soon afterwards, she shook her head again. She said, "Perhaps it's because I saw you use the zither on the Tian Yuan continent before." I don't know why. After being unconscious for 100 years, I always feel like I've forgotten something, as if there's something that I can't remember. It feels hazy to me. It might be because your soul was too heavily damaged, which left behind some side effects, Jian Chen said in thought. Kaya was clearly only a saint emperor, yet she needed so many priceless heavenly resources to awaken her from her slumber. He could only interpret it as her soul was extremely damaged. Kaya, I've prepared some divine crystals in there as well as a few cultivation methods. You can directly use them to cultivate until over God. Feel free to pick one that's suitable for you. Jian Chen took out a space ring and passed it to Kaya. Jian Chen, I already owe you too much. I can't take any more things from you, Kaya declined. Her feelings were rather mixed. She discovered that she suddenly experienced a sense of conflict deep within her heart towards the things that Jian Chen had given to her. Take it. There's no need to be polite between friends. However, Jian Chen directly shoved the space ring into Kaya's hands. Kaya stared at the space ring in a daze, and her feelings became more and more mixed. Right now, she actually felt like returning the space ring to Jian Chen immediately. She did not know why she thought of that, as if the thought was her instinct. It confused her slightly. In the end, she accepted the space ring with extremely mixed feelings and clenched it tightly in her hand. I'm going to take a stroll in the provincial city, Kaya said gently before turning around and making her way out. Wait. Jian Chen stopped Kaya and gave a medallion to her. He said, "This is my medallion. Carry it with you. If you come across any problems in the provincial city, you can directly flash it, and it'll be resolved." Kaya accepted the medallion and glanced at it a few times seriously. Afterwards, she left silently. Jian Chen, why do I feel like Kaya is somewhat different after she has woken up? Shangguan Mu'er said after Kaya left. Jian Chen sighed gently. To wake up in a completely foreign world away from where you came from originally, anyone would find it hard to accept. Chapter 1893, Visiting the Royal Palace again. Let's give Kaya some time to herself. She's different from us. We came to the Saints' world completely willingly, while Kaya had been brought here by you unknowingly. She'd naturally find it very difficult to become accustomed to a completely foreign world. She might not even accept it. However, everything will change with time. I believe in just a few months, Kaya will become completely used to the Saints' world, said Shangguan Mu'er. Even though she was not on any particularly good or bad terms with Kaya, they came from the same world after all. In the huge, foreign Saints' world, they would find every single person who had come from the Tianyuan continent to be close. I don't know whether bringing Kaya to the Saints' world was right or wrong. But if I didn't do that, it would have been impossible to wake her up, Jian Chen murmured as he gazed in the direction that Kaya had disappeared off to. His feelings were rather mixed. However, he calmed down very soon. He said to Shangguan Mu'er, the Empyrean demon cult is invading the divine kingdom of Pingtian, and the divine king has summoned me to the royal capital for matters to discuss. Mu'er, I have to go to the royal capital immediately. Do you need me to come with you? I can help you out now, Shangguan Mu'er looked at Jian Chen. In the past few years, when the Tianyuan clan developed, it had been single-handedly supported by Jian Chen on the outside. The other people basically did nothing. Now that she had become an over-god, she hoped to be able to share some of Jian Chen's burden. Jian Chen shook his head. At a time like this, it's better if we don't reveal our true strength. It might be extremely effective in crucial times. I'll go to the royal capital by myself, while you stay and protect the clan, just in case. Speaking up to there, Jian Chen took out the supreme quality saint artifact Fairy How You had gifted to him from his space ring. He said, Mu'er, here's a defensive supreme quality saint artifact. It's extremely powerful. Now that war is basically looming over the horizon, refine it immediately. The armor will be most useful when you wear you. You should keep it. You are the Tian Yuan clan's pillar of support, Shengguan Mu'er responded softly and pushed the armor away. Jian Chen smiled faintly and forcefully shoved the armor into Shengguan Mu'er's arms. He said, "You don't need to worry about me. My chaotic body is about to break through, so the armor won't be very useful to me. Mu'er, listen to me. Immediately refine the armor once I go, alright? I won't have to worry as much if you're protected by the armor. I'll be able to focus on dealing with my enemies." Afterwards, Jian Chen left the Dong'an province and directly made his way towards the royal capital of the divine kingdom of Pingtian. Kaya made her way through the provincial city of the Dong'an province aimlessly, all by herself. She saw the people hurrying to and fro through the wide streets, saw the stores and stands that were filled with items on the two streets, and heard the hawkings and discussion that had mixed together. Confusion gradually filled her eyes. From time to time, she would raise her head and stare at the sky. Looking at the sky that was only a deep blue, her gaze seemed to penetrate it and arrive at the depths of the cosmos. The mixed hubbub in the streets and the people who moved through them made her feel a sense of great unfamiliarity. However, when she raised her head to look at the sky, she just happened to experience the exact opposite, even though it was supposed to be unfamiliar as well. She felt that it was familiar. This sense of familiarity originated from the very depths of her heart. It confused her. She was puzzled at why she felt this. Suddenly, she slowly raised her white, slender hand towards the sky among so many passers-by. She gently clenched her hands and pulled down. She had performed the action completely subconsciously because, from the bottom of her heart, the space seemed very weak. It was like she could rip through it easily, and she could unleash destructive might by just raising her hand. The outcome was very evident. Not only did she fail to rip through the sky, but she did not even create a ripple in space. Instead, her actions made her seem weird, attracting strange gazes from countless people on the street. Kaya did not seem to realize the things that were happening around her. She looked at her hand, and she became even more confused. At this moment, a thought grew stronger and stronger within her. She felt like she had forgotten something and lost something, but no matter how hard she thought and recalled, she could not think of anything. She even looked through her own life, beginning at the start and making it all the way to the present. She recalled all her memories and discovered that she had not forgotten anything. Aside from the 100 years she had spent unconscious, she could remember everything else she had gone through in her life. Kaya leapt up. With her strength as a saint emperor, she leapt onto the roof of one of the nearby stores. She hugged her knees and sat down, raising her head and staring blankly at the sky. The store belonged to the Tian Yuan clan. Many people naturally believed she was disrespecting the Tian Yuan clan since Kaya directly sat on its roof. From the store, an old man with a white beard immediately hovered out. However, he did not dare to fly higher than the shop. He stared at Kaya, who sat on the roof, hugging her knees, and bellowed furiously, "How dare you, back off." However, before the old man could finish his words, an extremely dignified voice boomed in his head. A ruddy, sagely old man appeared in the sky on the other side. His long robes fluttered, and he possessed an otherworldly presence. He seemed like an otherworldly being. The old man was one of the elders of the Tian Yuan clan, Ando Fu. Jian Chen was worried that Kaya would find trouble all by herself in the city, so after giving her a medallion, he got Ando Fu to protect her secretly. This was because Kaya was just far too weak right now. She had not even reached the origin realm. She was a mere saint emperor. It was naturally extremely dangerous for her to move around in the city with strength like that. The old man who had emerged from the store only possessed strength at the peak of reciprocity. After seeing Ando Fu, he immediately became courteous and did not dare to utter another word. He returned to where he came from. Kaya did not realize what had happened at all. Her head remained raised as she stared at the sky blankly. It was as if there was nothing else besides the sky that made her experience a sliver of familiarity within the unfamiliar. Jian Chen arrived in the royal capital of the divine kingdom of Pingtian. Under the lead of 2 female servants, he was directly taken to the central hall of the royal palace. Jian Chen discovered that there were over a dozen people seated in there. They all sat on the seats with their legs crossed and their eyes closed as they rested. When Jian Chen appeared, all of them opened their eyes and stared at him. Many of them nodded towards him with kind intentions. He did not find these people to be unfamiliar. He had seen them before. They were the overgods from the divine kingdom of Pingtian. All the overgods in the divine kingdom had gathered in the hall, aside from Ling Hogong of the sword-seeking province. Jian Chen, you sure are great. You made us wait 3 days for you. At this moment, the seated Yang Kai shot a glance at Jian Chen and said coldly. Chapter 1894. 3 armies. Yang Kai, the ancestor of the Yang family, had become a late overgod many years ago. Not only was he famed within the divine kingdom of Pingtian, but he was also well-renowned and influential in the neighboring divine kingdoms as well. At the same time, he was known as the most powerful expert below overgod in the divine kingdom of Pingtian. Both his status and influence had surpassed the commander of the royal divine army, who possessed similar strength to him, Xian Do. Even though this was due to the fact that Xian Do always maintained a low profile and did not desire to excel over others, many people believed that Xian Do was not as great as Yang Kai, which was why he behaved like that. As a result, Yang Kai was as dominant as the midday sun in the divine kingdom of Pingtian. Only the divine king and the grand imperial protector were able to keep him at bay. However, his great fame had brought endless benefits to his Yang family as well. It allowed his Yang family to become known as the greatest clan in the divine kingdom of Pingtian long ago, allowing them to enjoy great honor. They were held in veneration and greatly respected by people. However, this all changed after the battle between Yang Kai and the patriarch of the Tian Yuan clan, Jian Chen. In the battle, Yang Kai, who had been known as the most powerful below-god king in the divine kingdom of Pingtian, actually lost to Jian Chen, the patriarch of a clan that had only been founded a few dozen years ago. Not only did Yang Kai lose his title of being the greatest below-god king and his reputation, but even the Yang family was greatly affected. Their status was nowhere as great as the past. To Yang Kai, this was a disgrace, a permanent stain to his name. Although he was a late overgod, having cultivated for several dozen millennia, in no way was he a generous man. The humiliation he experienced after the battle had gradually transformed into a sense of hatred. He was no longer able to treat Jian Chen like someone he could get along with now. Jian Chen's expression remained the same. He glanced past Yang Kai indifferently before smiling apologetically. He clasped his fist at the overgods in the hall and said, "There was quite a lot of distance to travel, so I spent some time on the road. I've made you all wait. I deeply apologize. Ha ha ha, the patriarch of the Tian Yuan clan is far too polite. Isn't it just 3 days? That's just a blink of an eye to us, brother Jian Chen. You're cursing me if you put it like that. I only arrived a little earlier than you. If you say it like that, wouldn't it be me who made everyone wait?" The overgods on the seats all stood up after they heard Jian Chen's words. They all clasped their fists at Jian Chen with a smile as they spoke extremely politely. Clearly, Jian Chen's prestige was far greater than Yang Kai's in the divine kingdom of Pingtian now. Aside from Yang Kai, all the overgods showed him respect. On the other hand, Yang Kai's face instantly sank deeply when he saw so many people support Jian Chen. Jian Chen ignored Yang Kai. After exchanging pleasantries with everyone, he directly made his way to his seat. The seats were placed in 2 rows, one on the left and one on the right, with a walkway through the center. Every single seat had a name engraved on it. Jian Chen just happened to be seated at the very front on the right side. The seat happened to be the closest to the king's throne. Xian Dou sat in the second seat, right next to Jian Chen. As for Yang Kai, he sat on the first seat on the left row. Jian Chen just happened to sit in front of Yang Kai. Yang Kai glanced at Jian Chen coldly before closing his eyes straightforwardly. Jian Chen did not worry about Yang Kai. Yang Kai was not his opponent before, and now that he had become relatively stronger than before, Yang Kai was even less of an opponent now. Jian Chen crossed his legs on the large, luxurious seat. He closed his eyes to rest, quietly waiting for the Divine King's arrival. Immediately, the hubbub Jian Chen's arrival caused quietened again. It was completely silent now. His Majesty has arrived. At this moment, a loud and vigorous voice broke the silence in the hall. The eyes of all the overgods present snapped open at the same time, and they stood up from their seats. The Divine King walked in with a dragon's crown on his head and the king's dragon robes on his body. He did not walk quickly, but whenever he took a step, the heartbeats of all the overgods seemed to resonate with it. Each step seemed to land on the hearts of the overgods, forming a tremendous, invisible pressure on them. All the overgods in the hall held their breaths at that moment. A sliver of respect appeared on their faces, and they could not help but lower their heads slightly. Jian Chen's eyes shone brightly, and he also lowered his head slightly. He mumbled to himself inside, "The Divine King is so powerful. Probably even the 9 late God Kings I came across in the Een Mountains of Seven's Despair isn't as great as him." Jian Chen understood that even among late God Kings, there could be huge differences. Any person who could make it onto the God King's throne, regardless of whether they could make the rankings or not, would possess strength on par to late God Kings. Making it into the rankings only required a cultivation level of late God King as well, but the people who held the top 10 rankings possessed strength equivalent to early infinite primes. They would be able to kill infinite primes directly as late God Kings, which was extraordinary. I wonder if the Divine King has made it onto the God King's throne, Jian Chen thought. He did not know the exact strength of the Divine King, but he felt that the Divine King was unfathomable. Greetings to His Majesty. The overgods below all bowed after the Divine King had sat down on his throne. There's no need to be so polite. Please be seated, the Divine King smiled faintly. He appeared amicable yet no less dignified. I think you all understand why I've summoned you all here today. Allow me to explain the exact strength of the 3 armies from the Empyrean demon cult, the Divine King said plainly. Even when the Divine King mentioned the 3 armies that were enough to cause the expressions of other Divine Kings to change, he remained composed and the same as before. Looking at how unworried the Divine King is, he seems very confident that we can repel the attacks from the Empyrean demon cult. Are those ancient empires going to take part? Jian Chen guessed inside, as he always paid attention to the Divine King's expression. The Empyrean demon cult has a total of 9 armies. Apart from the first army, the 8 other armies basically possess the same power. The commander of the 9th army is Yen Wuming. He's a late God King and is known as the Blood God Hand because he knows an extremely powerful God-tier battle skill. Once he uses it, the sky and earth are dyed scarlet red. He can condense a huge, red hand that possesses shocking power. Unless it is those who have made it onto the God King's throne, there are very few God Kings who can stop Yen Wuming. The commander of the 8th army is Luo Duo. He's also a late God King and is known as the Bloodthirsty Butcher. He's cold and merciless and also extremely bloodthirsty. He once charged into a divine kingdom all by himself and slaughtered billions of people. There was not a single person left alive wherever he passed by. The boundless baleful presence caused all the vegetation in the divine kingdom to wilt. The commander of the 7th army is Yashi Lian. She's also a late God King and is female. However, she's a transformed 9-tailed fox. Although she's the weakest out of the 9 army commanders, she's the most sly and the hardest to deal with. She possesses natural sexual charm and is skilled at charming her opponents. Those who have weak willpower fall for her charms extremely easily and lose all rationality. Reaching this point, the divine king became stern. He stared at the overgods below him before his eyes stopped on Jian Chen. He warned seriously, if you encounter the commander of the 7th Army, Yaxi Lian, keep in mind that it's best if you don't see her or listen to her voice. With your strength, it's very easy for you to be led astray by her words and actions. This is because even a few god kings can fall for her tricks if they aren't mentally strong. Chapter 1895, The Cult's Hall of Protectors. Jian Chen, heed my advice in particular. Yaxi Lian loves talented geniuses. If Yaxi Lian learns of you, she'll definitely pay special attention to you. As a result, you have to be careful, the divine king warned Jian Chen sternly. Thank you for your reminder, Your Majesty. I will be careful. Jian Chen clasped his fist sternly. He did not believe the divine king was telling lies. It would definitely be a huge problem if he caught the eye of the commander of the 7th Army. This was because the divine kingdom of Pingtian only possessed 2 god kings, while the commanders of the 3 armies from the Empyrean demon cult were all late god kings. Aside from the divine king who Jian Chen could not see through at all, Jian Chen was able to roughly sense the Grand Imperial Protector. Even if the Grand Imperial Protector was a god king, he was not the opponent of any one of the 3 commanders. The divine king continued, each army of the Empyrean demon cult possesses a set number of 100,000 people. However, any single one of their armies possess the power to easily crush our huge army that reaches into the millions. Just 100,000 people were able to easily wipe out an army that reached into the millions. This was definitely an astounding matter. Many overgods became extremely stern when they heard that. Even though they understood the strength of the 9 armies, they were unable to remain calm whenever someone mentioned it. Your Majesty, we won't be able to stop the 3 armies from the demonic cult at all when they come to invade, an overgod said painfully. A few of them were already ready to retreat. They would secretly move their clans away after the meeting and abandon all their businesses, leaving the divine kingdom of Pingtian for good. The divine king said calmly, it will indeed be a tough fight for our divine kingdom of Pingtian when the 3 armies invade, but that's all it will be. It won't be a devastating battle. The Empyrean demon cult won't be able to wipe out our divine kingdom of Pingtian because those ancient empires have already sent reinforcements. They're currently on their way. Even the ruler of the southern region, the Blood Sun Empire, is paying attention to the situation here at all times. The Empyrean demon cult has already crossed their bottom line by destroying the divine kingdom of 3 cauldrons. They won't let the Empyrean demon cult continue their advance so fearlessly anymore. What? The empires have already sent reinforcements? The Blood Sun Empire is also paying attention to the matters here? Your Majesty, is that true? Will the Blood Sun Empire send reinforcements to assist us? I never thought that the Blood Sun Empire would care about this matter so much. If the Blood Sun Empire steps in, the threat of the Empyrean demon cult will be eliminated instantly. If the Blood Sun Empire sends reinforcements, we can attack the headquarters of the demonic cult and get rid of them for good. Many overgods were overjoyed. What the divine king had just said was a huge blessing without a single doubt. It allowed them to see a ray of hope in the darkness. The Blood Sun Empire had spurred them in particular. They were the rulers of the southern region of the Cloud Plain. They were on a whole different level compared to the ancient empires in terms of strength. Before the Blood Sun Empire, even ancient empires such as the Heavenly Moon Empire had to bow their heads in submission. The Heavenly Moon Empire was only an ancient empire. There were a total of 6 of them in the southern region, while the Blood Sun Empire was known as an eternal empire. It was the only eternal empire in the southern region. Only Jian Chen's face remained unchanged. He remained stern with his eyebrows locked together. Even though he knew that there would be people from the empires who would come to provide reinforcement, they were only coming to protect the divine kingdom of Pingtian. Counter-attacking or even ridding the Empyrean demon cult for good was basically impossible. Let alone the Eternal Blood Sun Empire in the south, but even the Tian Empire that had been known as an everlasting empire in the central region did not have that courage. This was because he had learnt some absolute secrets from the God King by Tong Tian's side, Qin Do. Probably even many God Kings had not heard of these secrets before. The Empyrean demon cult itself was nothing scary. On the Cloud Plain, there were many organizations that could wipe them out. However, the great elder behind the demonic cult made the organizations who stood at the very top feel fear. At this moment, Jian Chen stood up and clasped his hands. "Your Majesty, are there no other God Kings apart from the commanders of the three armies attacking our divine kingdom?" Jian Chen was indeed very doubtful. All the commanders of the three armies were late God Kings, so logically speaking, there should have been a few early God Kings and mid-God Kings as deputies. In many armies, there would be generals of the left and right wings as well as deputy commanders. How could the Empyrean demon cult's 9 powerful armies not even have a deputy commander? There is indeed only one God King in each army of the Empyrean demon cult, and they're all late God Kings. The Divine King sank into his thoughts and said slowly, "According to my understanding, the Empyrean demon cult has a hall of protectors aside from the 9 armies. Once an over-god in the armies becomes a God King, they immediately leave the army and become a protector. At the same time, each protector is a successor to the 9 commanders. Once a commander falls in battle, the new commander will be chosen from the protectors. Your Majesty, may I ask just how many people there are in the Hall of Protectors?" Bing Lu from the Yubing clan of the Frigid Snow Province asked. He no longer seemed as old as before. There was a faint, healthy glow on his face now. During these years, Bing Lu's strength had clearly increased by quite a lot. He was now a mid-over-god. This time, the Divine King fell into a period of lengthy silence. He only sighed after quite a while and said, "Probably even the experts from the empires won't be able to answer this question. However, you don't need to worry about that. It's enough as long as you understand that the Empyrean demon cult won't be able to get past our divine kingdom of Pingtian. All I require is your full strength when the war begins, so we don't get dirty looks from the people of the empires. I've said everything that I need to say. You all go prepare for battle." The Divine King waved his hand and ended the meeting. After dispersing, everyone thought back to the Empyrean demon cult's Hall of Protectors mentioned in the meeting, including Jian Chen. Their expressions constantly changed. From how the Divine King had responded, he clearly had no idea about the Hall of Protectors. Otherwise, he would never have remained silent for so long. "Looks like there should be quite a few protectors in the Hall of Protectors," concluded many over-gods. They all became extremely stern. "They've created a hall for protectors. Just how many God Kings does the Empyrean demon cult possess?" Jian Chen wondered as he felt astounded. From the start till the end, no one mentioned the 3 over-gods that Jian Chen had slain. Even Yang Kai, who resented Jian Chen, did not speak a word of it. This was because they all understood that the invasion of the 3 armies actually had nothing to do with the 3 over-gods. 3 over-gods were not worth a war for the Empyrean demon cult, and it was not why they had directly mobilized 3 armies. They had even received news that in this attack, the Empyrean demon cult had not just mobilized the 7th, 8th, and 9th armies. They had mobilized their 6 other armies as well. The 9 armies split into 3, attacking the southern region, the northern region, and the western region. Chapter 1896. Kaya and Chanlong people constantly poured in and out of the great city gates of the provincial city in the Dong'an province. A large number of armored soldiers were stationed at each city gate, and deities were watching over the operations secretly. As one of the 6 great provincial cities in the divine kingdom of Ping Tian, the Dong'an province was also the base of the Tian Yuan clan. It was so renowned that it attracted countless people to come in admiration. Of course, many people had obviously come to trade or avoid problems. They wanted to borrow the anti-violence rules of the provincial city to avoid their enemies killing them. However, everyone who entered the provincial city had to pay a certain amount of divine crystals to the guards at the city gates in exchange for a medallion. They would buy the time they could spend in the city through the medallion. Not only did the provincial city strictly forbid fighting, but origin energy was abundant as well. Cultivating within the city was much faster than doing so outside, and there was completely no need to worry about attacks from powerful beasts. As a result, many people were extremely happy with cultivating in the provincial city. Although some people would ignore the rules the Tian Yuan clan set down in the Dong'an province and directly hurt people, such occurrences were extremely rare. In other words, it was still far safer than the wilderness outside. Today, Chanlong, who was known as a formations master, was squeezed together with all the people who were about to enter the provincial city. He wore white robes and completely concealed his presence, slowly approaching the east city gates with the crowd. Right now, Chanlong only seemed like an ordinary old man. He did not stand out at all in the crowd, making it very difficult to imagine that he was a late overgod and a famed formations master in the surrounding divine kingdoms. It was even more difficult to imagine that with his strength and status, he would actually choose to line up with the ordinary people when he made his way into the city. He could only set foot inside after paying up the divine crystals for a medallion, which was used to stay in the city. I've already entered the provincial city, and I've hidden my presence with a secret technique. Even if Jian Chen is in the city, he can't find me. Where is my chance at survival that you were talking about? Master Chanlong strolled through the streets leisurely as he secretly communicated with the trapped soul. Master Chanlong's feelings became rather mixed as he stared at the scenery of the provincial city. Thinking back to the past, he had ambushed Jian Chen here. He cast down a huge formation to lock down the entire city in an attempt to kill Jian Chen here. Unfortunately, Jian Chen sensed him beforehand and managed to escape from the provincial city. In the end, he engaged in an intense battle 100 kilometers away from the city with Jian Chen. Master Chanlong almost managed to kill Jian Chen in that battle, but at the same time, he had almost lost his life to Jian Chen. Now, he had returned to the provincial city again, and his intentions were not to kill Jian Chen but to find the chance of survival the trapped soul mentioned. Jian Chen's talent was too great, and he grew too fast. Coupled with the constant mutterings of the trapped soul, he was gradually influenced. Old man Chanlong, you better treasure the last few years of your life. I can already see your future. You won't be able to live for another 100 years. Old man Chanlong, I can already see your forehead being pierced and your soul being wiped out by Jian Chen. I can already see when Jian Chen cuts off your head, he said. As a result, Master Chanlong began to firmly believe the words of the trapped soul. In order to avoid dying to Jian Chen's hands in a few decades, he had hurried back here from the Heavenly Moon Empire. Master Chanlong deeply understood just how powerful the trapped soul was after what he went through in the past years. He basically possessed the power to tell the future. Everything he mentioned would happen in the end. The fortune of the provincial city is a mess. A layer of mist seems to cover it. I can only see that your chance of survival lies here. I can't see exactly where though. Old man Chanlong, it'll be up to your luck next. I won't be able to help you out, said the trapped soul. Master Chanlong said nothing. Before long, he entered an inn and reserved an average room to avoid attracting attention. He ordered some dishes on the first floor of the inn and began eating in an inconspicuous corner. Of course, this was all just a cover. People moved about in places like inns often. Such places were very convenient for learning about things. He firmly believed that if the provincial city possessed a chance for his survival, the city definitely would not be peaceful. Something abnormal or special would definitely happen. Master Chanlong's words and actions had become cautious now that he was here. He maintained an extremely low profile. He did not even show himself in public much at all, and he was not even bold enough to use the senses of his soul. He was afraid that Jian Chen was still in the city and would discover his existence. If someone exposed the fact that he had entered the divine kingdom of Ping Tian, the Grand Imperial Protector would hunt him down. Otherwise, it would have never been so difficult for him to obtain information as a late-over god. At the same time, Kaya wandered through the streets of the provincial city aimlessly. She would look at the surroundings sometimes and the sky at other times. Confusion filled her face. She had already moved around like this for 2 whole days. Of course, let alone 2 days, even walking for 2 years was nothing to a saint emperor like her. Just when Kaya walked by an ordinary inn, she seemed to sense something that drew her gaze over. She suddenly glanced at the inn and could not help but enter it. When a person entered an unfamiliar environment, the first thing they would do would be to look around subconsciously and observe the environment. However, when Kaya entered the inn, she did not look around to learn the environment at all. Something clearly attracted her gaze, so she directly looked towards an inconspicuous corner. To no surprise, that was where Master Chanlong sat. Kaya's gaze directly landed on Master Chanlong. She stared at him blankly as a sliver of confusion gradually appeared in her eyes. At the same time, Master Chanlong raised his head and stared at Kaya calmly. He was no longer able to shift his gaze after that. As a late-over god, he would have never paid any attention to a mere saint emperor. Even if the saint emperor looked at him, he would not pay any attention to them at all. However, the moment Kaya entered the inn, Master Chanlong actually could not help but raise his head as if it was beyond his control. His gaze landed on Kaya. What a weak level of cultivation. Strange. Who is this person? Why do I feel a sense of familiarity when I glance at her? Master Chanlong stared at Kaya as his old eyes revealed suspicion. Old man Chanlong, have you noticed that girl? Who is she? Why do I feel like I know her as soon as she has appeared? But I've clearly never seen her before. At the same time, the trapped soul spoke doubtfully. At this moment, Kaya moved. She arrived before Master Chanlong at a steady pace and stared at him in confusion. She asked gently, "Who are you? Have we met somewhere before?" As she said that, Kaya would look towards Master Chanlong's space ring from time to time. Kaya clearly experienced the same feeling from the trapped soul as Master Chanlong. The 3 of them felt like they knew each other. Chapter 1897, Jian Chen's return. Kaya's words astounded Master Chanlong slightly. His old eyes flickered as he stared at Kaya uneasily. His expression was rather strange. Afterwards, he furrowed his brows lightly and revealed his confusion. At the moment he saw Kaya, he had experienced an unknown sense of familiarity. It was unknown because he was certain that he had never seen this woman in his life before. Even when ignoring the fact that Chanlong had never possessed a true friend ever since he began cultivating, Kaya was so weak. She was only a mere saint emperor. Even if he did see her in the past, he definitely would not have remembered her. In his eyes, a person like her was an ant-like existence. Naturally, it was impossible for him to experience a sense of familiarity from an ant. That was exactly why it was strange. Not only did he feel an unknown sense of familiarity, but Kaya herself also seemed to feel the same indescribable feeling as him from her words. Master Chanlong was unable to understand why, no matter how hard he thought about it. Moreover, the part that filled Master Chanlong with disbelief was that even the soul trapped in his formation banners felt the same feeling towards Kaya. As a result, the matter had become far more complicated than it seemed. "Who are you?" Master Chanlong responded with a question as he stared at Kaya. At that moment, even he, a mighty late-over god, became somewhat confused. I'm Kaya. Kaya stared at Master Chanlong with a similar gaze, glancing at the space ring on his finger from time to time. Curiosity filled her eyes as she asked, "There's also something that gives me a sense of familiarity in your space ring. This feeling, it seems to be the same as the feeling you give me." Kaya's words stunned Master Chanlong. His old eyes immediately widened as he stared at Kaya in shock and disbelief. Naturally, he knew what Kaya felt a sense of familiarity within his space ring. It was definitely the soul trapped in the formation banners that could tell the future. How can this girl sense what is in my space ring? Let alone her, a puny saint emperor, even god kings can't do that. Master Chanlong struggled to remain calm as he secretly conversed with the trapped soul. Old man Chanlong, don't ask me. I don't know what this is all about either. I actually can't see through this woman before me at all. She's like a cloud of mist, said the trapped soul. Master Chanlong remained silently for a while before gradually calming down. He stared at Kaya curiously with mixed feelings. The sense of familiarity with Kaya grew stronger and stronger within him, unconsciously affected him. It caused Master Chanlong's opinion of Kaya to change silently. Master Chanlong invited Kaya to sit down. He did not put on any airs as an over-god and instead conversed with Kaya in an approachable manner. They were like old friends talking about the past. Just who is this woman called Kaya? Who is she? I clearly haven't seen her before, so why do I feel that she's familiar? The trapped constantly mumbled within the space ring as Chanlong and Kaya conversed. He scratched his head, but he was unable to think of any reason. Kaya and Master Chanlong became more and more friendly while the sense of familiarity grew stronger and stronger. They did not feel distant with each other at all. This made them both feel strange as if they were originally close friends or something. Kaya, looks like you and I really are fated to meet. However, your cultivation is low right now, so it's very easy for you to come across danger. Why don't you stick with me for now? Take these 3 protective formation discs. Each disc can block an attack from a late-over god. Also, take this jade pendant with you at all times. I can come to save your life at crucial times. These high-grade divine crystals can allow your strength to increase quickly. Master Chanlong took out a great pile of things from his space ring and placed it before Kaya. Even Master Chanlong himself felt a sense of disbelief. He was actually gifting someone he had just met so many things. If it were in the past, he would have never believed he could be so generous. High-grade divine crystals were nothing to him, but the 3 formations discs that could block attacks from late-over gods were priceless. It was extremely difficult to create each one. And the jade pendant was even more valuable. Not only was it a high-quality saint artifact, but it was also a treasure that could defend automatically. Once attacked, the pendant would activate by itself and form an extremely powerful light screen. If all of its power was unleashed, it could even last for a while before ordinary late-over gods. Without any exaggeration, Master Chanlong had gifted away a quarter of his wealth. Yet, Master Chanlong just wanted to help Kaya with everything he had when he saw how weak she was right now. This was like how Jian Chen treated his friends and family. Selflessly. He would always find a way to use all the resources on hand so that they could strengthen up. Senior Chanlong, thank you for your kind intentions, but I can't just take so many of your things without any reason. Moreover, I don't lack such items. Jian Chen has given me quite a lot. Kaya thanked him before pushing all of Master Chanlong's things back to him. What? Jian Chen? The patriarch of the Tian Yuan clan, Jian Chen? The light in Master Chanlong's eyes flickered as he became stern. That's right, he's the patriarch of the Tian Yuan clan. He's my friend, said Kaya. Master Chanlong immediately became uneasy. At the same time, a streak of light flew through the air outside the provincial city quickly. In just the blink of an eye, it had entered the city. Jian Chen had already returned from the royal capital. He rode the startling rainbow sword and entered the city as a resplendent streak of light. I wonder what Kaiya's condition is after these days. Has she accepted the saint's world? Jian Chen thought of Kaiya as soon as he entered the provincial city. He flew towards the Tian Yuan clan on the startling rainbow sword and expanded the senses of his soul as well. He engulfed the entire city in search of Kaiya's whereabouts. With his senses at the level of late overgods, he found Kaiya without any effort at all. However, his face suddenly changed and heavy killing intent instantly appeared in his eyes. He said coldly, "Chanlong, you're looking to die." Jian Chen's direction of advance suddenly changed. His speed erupted at that moment. Sword chi permeated his surroundings as the startling rainbow sword shone brightly. He turned into a streak of light, shooting off in Kaiya's direction with unbelievable speed. At the same time, Master Chanlong discovered Jian Chen's arrival. He instantly became stern and an azure disk appeared in his right hand. It shone with bright, azure light as countless profound inscriptions flashed about. He held a set of formation banners in his left hand while the trapped soul became stern as well. Chapter 1898, People from the Earth Spirit Sect. Oh no, Jian Chen has discovered you now. He's extremely powerful. Old man Chanlong, if you say you had the power to kill Jian Chen or escape from him in the past, you're definitely not his opponent now. He really is a prodigy for his strength to increase so quickly. The trapped soul murmured. Its voice was filled with amazement. Even with the entire saint's world in perspective, there were only a handful of people who possessed talent like Jian Chen. However, the trapped soul frowned soon after, but it doesn't make sense. I clearly saw a chance for you to survive in the Dong'an province, so why did you encounter Jian Chen now? Where's that chance to survive now that you've encountered Jian Chen? Your predictions have been rather accurate every time, but you've clearly miscalculated this time. However, it's not too big of a deal. Even if Jian Chen's strength has grown dramatically in the past few years, I'm not afraid of him, said Master Chanlong. The powerful origin energy that belonged to a late overgod churned secretly within his body, rampaging about like a huge river. Standing before him, Kaiya could not help but become doubtful and confused when she saw how Master Chanlong had suddenly become stern. He had also taken out his azure disc and formation banners. Just when she wanted to ask him about it, an extremely tremendous presence suddenly crushed down from the sky. It immediately caused the expressions of all the people in the inn to change drastically. Even the formation that protected the inn creaked as if it bore a heavy burden. It was like it was about to shatter from the tremendous presence. A ball of light shone brightly like the sun. It shot over from the distance like a bolt of lightning, moving extremely quickly. It had completely surpassed the level where gods could catch a glimpse of it. Only overgods could sense it now. In a short instance, the streak of light made a beeline for the inn where Kaiya was. Kaiya only saw a flash and a white-robed man appeared before her as if he had teleported there. He stood with his back towards her between Master Chanlong and her. Jian Chen. Kaiya basically recognized the familiar back instantly, and she became surprised. Kaiya, go back to the clan first. It's not safe here, Jian Chen said without even turning back. He spoke very gently, but he stared at Master Chanlong closely. He was cautious and on guard. He did not know of the relationship between Kaiya and Master Chanlong. He only knew that he could not attack Master Chanlong with Kaiya right by his side at the moment. Kaiya would not be able to endure the battle shockwaves from overgods as a mere saint emperor. Master Chanlong, you're a mighty overgod after all. You shouldn't take a weak person as a hostage against me. Jian Chen glared at Master Chanlong as he growled. Right now, he was very worried that Master Chanlong would strike out first. He had no need to fear Master Chanlong at all with his current strength. As a matter of fact, under his full strength, Master Chanlong would not even be able to cast down formations. However, he would not be able to ensure the safety of Kaya, who was beside him. If Kaya were a god, Jian Chen would not need to worry as much because gods would be able to resist the battle shockwaves. However, Kaya was only a Saint Emperor right now. Saint Emperors were no different from mortals before over-gods. Humph, Jian Chen. You sure think highly of yourself, Master Chanlong sneered. Yeah, kiddo. You sure think highly of yourself. Even if you're a prodigy, you still don't have the right for Old Man Chanlong to take hostages in an attempt to threaten you. Old Man Chanlong isn't any great person, but at the very least, he respects his own status, said the trapped soul. His voice drifted out from the formation's banners. Kaya could sense the hostility in Jian Chen and Master Chanlong's words. He ignored Jian Chen's urgings and stood between the two of them. She said to Jian Chen, what are you doing? Chanlong is my friend. Why would he use me as a hostage against you? You've misunderstood. Kaya also realized there were probably grievances between Jian Chen and Master Chanlong. What did you say? Friends? Jian Chen stared at Kaya in surprise as he became dumbfounded. He was basically doubting his ears. Just how long had Kaya spent in the saint's world? How long ago had she woken up? Moreover, there was a great disparity in strength between her and Master Chanlong, where one was heaven and the other was earth. How could they have become friends? Kaya stopped the aggressive Jian Chen and explained, Jian Chen, I know you don't believe me. Although we've just met, we became fast friends. I have indeed treated Chanlong as a friend of mine. He's my best friend beside you. Jian Chen sighed gently when he saw how serious Kaya was. She did not seem to be joking. Jian Chen said, Kaya, you still haven't truly understood the person before you. Chanlong is a mighty late over-god and a formations master. His status is so great, so how can he treat you with any importance? Master Chanlong spoke up. He said emotionlessly as he held an azure disc in one hand and a set of formation banners in the other, Jian Chen, I disdain explaining it to you, but as this directly relates to Kaya's trust in me, I must say something. That's right, I am indeed a late over-god and a formations master. I am renowned in this region, but I have indeed become fast friends with Miss Kaya. In just the short time we spent together, she has become my first friend. Jian Chen sneered, Chanlong, do you think I'd believe you? You're probably doing this with other intentions. However, no matter what they are, I won't let you leave so easily today. Jian Chen gripped the startling rainbow sword as his presence surged. It had already locked onto Chanlong. At this very moment, a black figure charged into the inn with lightning speed. It arrived before Jian Chen in a single instance and grabbed Kaya by the shoulder, taking her out of the inn. Jian Chen had always remained on guard against Master Chanlong. He did not stop the black figure at all. The black figure was Shen Jian in black robes. Jian Chen had already contacted Shen Jian using his soul during his stalemate against Master Chanlong. He got Shen Jian to take Kaya away. As long as Kaya was present, he would be held back. He would not be bold enough to engage in a battle against Chanlong. Even though this would reveal Shen Jian's existence, Jian Chen could not think too much about it for the sake of Kaya's safety. I never thought that there would actually be a second over-god in the Tian Yuan clan. Master Chanlong stared at Jian Chen emotionlessly. Chanlong, it's time for us to settle the grievances we built up in the past. You were lucky when you escaped last time. Today, you're done for. The startling rainbow sword in Jian Chen's hands surged with sharp light. He pointed it at Master Chanlong. You think I'm doomed? Humph, you still don't have that power, Jian Chen, sneered Master Chanlong. The azure disc in his hand glowed brightly and a huge formation appeared, revolving around his body. A huge battle was about to erupt. However, at this moment, both of their faces changed, and they looked in the same direction. At the next moment, 7 tremendous presences surged out. It enveloped the entire Dong'an province in an extremely brutal manner. Each presence was at the level of overgods, and there were quite a few late overgods among them. The 7 great protectors of the Earth Spirit sect from the Heavenly Moon Empire have arrived. Who is the patriarch of the Tian Yuan clan? Why don't you come and receive us immediately? Is the patriarch of the Tian Yuan clan, Jian Chen, present? Come receive us on your knees. That's right, on your knees. You better move quickly. Don't make us wait, or don't blame us for removing your Tian Yuan clan from existence. For clear voices boomed through the air, reaching every corner of the provincial city. Their voices were forceful, arrogant, and condescending. Chapter 1899, Attack. The voices of the protectors from the Earth Spirit sect boomed through the entire provincial city. At that moment, countless people stopped what they were doing no matter how important it was. They all stared at the sky in surprise, looking around for the source of the voices. Ever since Jian Chen defeated Yang Kai of the Yang family, the Tian Yuan clan had become the greatest clan in the divine kingdom of Ping Tian, replacing the Yang family. Additionally, the patriarch of the Tian Yuan clan, Jian Chen, had become known as the greatest expert below god kings in the divine kingdom of Ping Tian. Not to mention the divine kingdom of Ping Tian, but he was even famed in the neighboring divine kingdoms. No one dared to provoke him. However, not only had someone provoked Jian Chen, but they even spoke without any mercy at all. They arrogantly asked for Jian Chen to receive them on his knees. The boldness stunned many people. In particular, the final sentence that mentioned they would remove the Tian Yuan clan from existence shocked all the people in the provincial city. Who is it? Aren't they just too arrogant? Shouldn't they have a look at what the Tian Yuan clan is? They're the most powerful overgod clan in the divine kingdom of Ping Tian now. What place is the Heavenly Moon Empire? I've never heard of it. And what is this Earth Spirit sect? They seem pretty powerful. They've sent 7 protectors that act so arrogantly, completely looking down on the patriarch of the Tian Yuan clan. The Tian Yuan clan cannot be offended. Although I don't know who they are, I believe the patriarch of the Tian Yuan clan will never spare them. The patriarch of the Tian Yuan clan is a powerful, vicious person. I heard he killed 3 overgods from the Empyrean demon cult in just a few moves. That's equivalent to the ancestors of large clans. They're all peak experts in the divine kingdom of Ping Tian. Discussions rose up around the city, but without any exceptions, most of the people held great confidence for the patriarch of the Tian Yuan clan. There were even many people who looked forward to the patriarch of the Tian Yuan clan teaching a lesson to the big-mouthed people who had come to cause trouble. Many of them had not heard of the Earth Spirit sect and the Heavenly Moon Empire before. Only a small fraction of the gods had heard of the Earth Spirit sect before. They became stern as they worried for the Tian Yuan clan. The 2 remaining gods in the Wainer clan heard the calls across the entire city as well, and they became extremely excited. The protectors of the Earth Spirit sect have come. Xiao Yan is also a protector. They should be his seniors and juniors. Quick, go contact Xiao Yan. The protectors of the Earth Spirit sect have come to support our Wainer clan. Fantastic, that's just fantastic. Today is the day we rise up. The 2 gods who were even older than Wainer Yen scurried excitedly to where Wainer Yen cultivated as quickly as they could. At the same time, Jian Chen frowned. When he heard the protector's words, a vicious light immediately flashed through his eyes. He immediately abandoned Master Chanlong and shot off as a streak of light. Jian Chen hovered above the huge city walls outside the provincial city. He stared ahead sharply and emotionlessly. Before him stood 7 people in uniform attires. They had their arms crossed, and they looked at Jian Chen arrogantly as if he was nothing. There were a total of 5 men among the 7 of them, and 2 of them seemed to be close to middle age. Their lips seemed to have curled into a sneer as their gazes towards Jian Chen were filled with evident coldness. The 2 of them were also the most powerful among the 7. They were late over gods. The other 3 men retained a youthful appearance. There were 2 early over gods and 1 mid over god. The last 2 people were women who seemed to be around 20 years old. They wore long dresses that showed off their beautiful, slender figures. They were quite pretty. The 2 women were both mid over gods. As soon as we called for Jian Chen of the Tian Yuan clan, you immediately appeared. Are you Jian Chen from the Tian Yuan clan? An early over god young man studied Jian Chen. His arms were crossed as he said leisurely. He seemed like he was fooling around. That's right. I'm the patriarch of the Tian Yuan clan, Jian Chen. However, this is the Dong'an province, not your earth spirit sect. As a result, please dismiss the arrogance you possess in the earth spirit sect when you come here, Jian Chen said calmly. The young man laughed when he heard that. He stared at Jian Chen like he was challenging him and said, "Oh, you're actually threatening us now. But that's exactly what we're going to do to you. What can you do about it? Junior 2, stop wasting so many words on him. Jian Chen, haven't you heard what we said before? Why don't you kneel when you receive us 7 great protectors?" the other early over god said sternly. The 5 other mid and late over gods hovered in the air as they stared at Jian Chen coldly with crossed arms. Their gazes were threatening as if they were not disdained to talk to Jian Chen with their arrogance. Jian Chen's eyes became cold when he was faced with the naked provocation of the protectors. He said coldly, "Even 2 puny ants dare to ask me to kneel? Are all the people from the earth spirit sect like this?" Jian Chen's voice was also filled with deep disdain. He was not exaggerating things either. With his current strength, early over gods were indeed like ants before him. However, the faces of the 2 early over gods sank. Killing intent filled their eyes as they said coldly, "Jian Chen, you're looking to die. Allow me to show you what happens when you underestimate the protectors of the earth spirit sect." With that, the 2 of them took out their saint artifacts and directly attacked Jian Chen. Gushing sword chi startles the heavens. The 2 early over gods called out. They swung their swords and sent 2 huge strands of sword chi through the air that shot towards Jian Chen with lightning speed. The 5 other protectors all stared at Jian Chen in great interest when the 2 people struck out. They wanted to witness Jian Chen's strength through the 2 of them. They had just hurried over from the earth spirit sect, so they did not understand Jian Chen's true strength too well. They only knew that their junior, Weiner Yen, had suffered a defeat at Jian Chen's hands. However, Weiner Yen was also an early over god when that happened. He was roughly just as powerful as the 2 people who attacked Jian Chen. The 2 early over gods had struck out together. Moreover, they had used a secret technique from their sect, so they were much more powerful than regular over gods. Together, they could take on a mid over god in a battle. Chapter 1900, Single stroke beheading. The 2 strands of sword chi shone brightly, illuminating the surroundings. It really did possess a presence that it could startle the heavens. They were extremely swift, and when they shot out, it was coupled with a crisp thrum of the sword that the great vibrations from the swords in the hands of the 2 early over gods created. The 2 strands of sword chi locked onto Jian Chen's presence tightly. They crossed over to him instantly in an unstoppable manner. The powerful origin energy that belonged to an early over god and the laws of the world mingled together, falling down onto Jian Chen like a huge net to seal off any path of escape. Jian Chen's eyes narrowed slightly. The 2 of them really did come from a large sect after all. As soon as they attacked him, the strength they displayed probably could not be matched up to by any other early over god. In particular, the battle skills they used seemed to possess the might of mid-overgods. Impressive battle skill, but it's a pity that the people using it are a little too weak, just like two ants. It's like even if they can lift up things that are far heavier than themselves, they're still puny. How would they be able to threaten a huge beast? Jian Chen said scornfully. Heavy killing intent flashed through his eyes. Suddenly, the startling rainbow sword exploded with light. A powerful sword intent radiated from Jian Chen. The sword had turned into a blur the moment he stabbed out. His strike seemed to be able to tear through the laws. It seemed to have condensed the truths of the world and followed a natural trajectory. The simple strike was devastating. The expressions of the two early overgods from the Earth Spirit sect changed. They stared at Jian Chen in shock. They thought that they had understood Jian Chen's strength, but they had never expected he would be so powerful. Just that strike alone made them feel the danger of death. At the same time, it also made them feel like they had ended up in hell. The two protectors were shocked and filled with disbelief. They knew that Jian Chen was not weak. After all, even their junior Wainer Yen had been defeated by him. However, with their strength combined, they could even last a while against a late overgod, even if they could not win. However, let alone last a while, they could not even take a single strike from Jian Chen. Oh no! The expressions of the two late overgods from the Earth Spirit sect changed. Jian Chen's attack was so powerful that even they felt a great threat. It was impossible for their early overgod juniors to block the attack. The two late overgods immediately stepped in, charging towards Jian Chen as quickly as possible. They wanted to block Jian Chen's attack for their juniors. However, it was impossible for Jian Chen to let them do they wished. The protectors of the Earth Spirit sect had arrived with great hostility, and they had even made rude remarks about him. They had demanded him to receive them on his knees. Jian Chen could never just let them go like that. Not to mention that he would probably end up fighting the protectors of the Earth Spirit sect today anyways. Since that was going to happen, it was better for him to take advantage of the situation and heavily injure them so that their power was reduced. Boom! The two strands of sword chi from the early overgods collided with Jian Chen's attack. The strands of sword chi were as fragile as paper, directly exploding in the air. With a great boom, a huge, visible sound wave appeared, causing the great walls of the provincial city to tremble slightly. Formations appeared. Meanwhile, Jian Chen's startling rainbow sword continued onwards at the same speed. It shone with dazzling white light and directly cleaved through the shockwaves from the two strands of sword chi. It landed on the necks of the two protectors mercilessly. The strike was extremely fast. It came and went in a split second. The two late overgods from the Earth Spirit sect wanted to support the early overgods, but they were too late. Stop, Jian Chen. If you dare to touch Junior 2 and Junior Lei, we'll definitely show you what will happen today. We'll remove your Tian Yuan clan from the Dong'an province, a late overgod threatened loudly. Patriarch of the Tian Yuan clan, if you even touch a hair on Juniors 2 and Lei, your Tian Yuan clan will meet its maker today. No one will be spared, the other late overgod added aggressively. Although Jian Chen had displayed extraordinary strength, they still looked down on him. After all, they came from the Earth Spirit sect of the Heavenly Moon Empire. Originating from a large sect, they possessed a natural sense of superiority. After coming to the countryside like the divine kingdom of Pingtian, they naturally believed that they were far greater than the people here as if they ruled over them. However, Jian Chen did not stop at all when he heard their threats. Instead, a vicious light flashed through his eyes and killing intent surged. He only wanted to teach them a slight lesson in the beginning by incapacitating them. However, he decided that he needed to teach them a painful, unforgettable lesson now. The startling rainbow sword turned into a streak of white light. It slashed out like a fan, directly sweeping through their necks without any obstruction at all. Immediately, blood spurted from their necks like fountains. The early over-gods had been beheaded. The blood propelled the two heads high up into the sky, and then the heads spun as they fell. Their eyes were filled with shock and fear. In just a single stroke, Jian Chen had forcefully beheaded the two early over-gods in a dominating manner. Not only did the 5 protectors become completely dumbfounded by the sight of this, all the people in the Dong'an province became more shocked than they had ever been before. They all fell into a daze. Do you see that young man in white robes? He's the patriarch of the Tian Yuan clan, Jian Chen. Heavens, the patriarch really is just too powerful. He beheaded 2 early over-gods without any effort at all. The patriarch of the Tian Yuan clan is actually so powerful, where even early over-gods are no different from ants before him. Just what is his strength? Has he already broken through to God King? The patriarch is so powerful that he can probably make it onto the 3,000 over-gods plaque. The Dong'an province fell silent for a while before suddenly erupting with an enthusiastic hubbub. Jian Chen had beheaded 2 over-gods with lightning speed, and all the people in the provincial city had witnessed this. They became extremely excited. Ever since the Tian Yuan clan was founded, they had always dealt with troublemakers and assisted the weak. The people in the clan did not take women forcefully either, so the Tian Yuan clan had earned the favor and support of many people in the provincial city. They were completely different from the Mo family of the divine kingdom of Qingyang. As a result, many people immediately cheered when they saw the patriarch of the Tian Yuan clan gain the upper hand against powerful enemies. Chapter 1901, Everyone mobilized. Senior Gong, Senior Wu, save us. Save us. The 2 protectors who had been beheaded asked for help in fear. Of course, they were unable to make any sounds now that their heads had been separated from their bodies. They produced mental pulses to ask for help. As long as their souls existed, they would not die even if their bodies were reduced to pieces. As a result, the 2 of them remained alive even after their heads were chopped off. Of course, their current situation was quite horrible because a tiny strand of sword qi had been deposited in them after Jian Chen beheaded them. The sword qi split into 2, one remained in their bodies, while the other directly entered their head. However, Jian Chen had controlled the power very well. The sword qi in their heads was not powerful at all. They could fend it off with just the power of their souls. The sword qi would not wipe out their souls, and they would not die. It would only waste away a tremendous amount of power from their souls. The 2 late over-gods who were known as Senior Gong and Senior Wu arrived before the heads with sunken faces. They each protected one of them, pressing them gently against their necks. At the same time, they took out a bottle of pills from their space rings and ground it to dust before rubbing it on their wounds. Immediately, the injuries on their necks began to heal at a visible rate. The heads reconnected with the bodies very quickly. During that time, the other 3 mid-over-gods stared at Jian Chen cautiously so that they would be ready if Jian Chen suddenly struck out in an attempt to stop them from helping. However, Jian Chen did not plan on killing them. He did not stop them from helping the 2 early over-gods. Instead, he retreated with his sword. He stared at them coldly and emotionlessly. It's fortunate that we saved you in time. Your bodies haven't been damaged any further than this. Otherwise, it wouldn't be easy to reconnect your heads, a late over-god said gladly. When he glanced at Jian Chen, cold light flashed through his eyes with powerful killing intent. Thank you for saving us, Senior Gong and Senior Wu. If it were not for the fact that you 2 made it in time, we probably would have died to Jian Chen's hands, the 2 protectors who believed that they had survived out of pure luck said weakly. Their bodies trembled gently while their faces became frighteningly pale. The muscles on their faces twitched unnaturally as they seemed to be in great pain. Pure strands of sword qi rampaged through their bodies. It destroyed their vitality, crushed their organs, and severed their blood vessels. At the same time, there was a weak strand of sword qi in their heads. If they did not try to fend it off with their full power, it could wipe out their souls at any time. The two of them immediately sat down and devoted themselves to stopping the 2 strands of sword chi that created trouble in their bodies. You dare attempt to kill the protectors of the Earth Spirit sect? Jian Chen, you're just far too bold. Looks like you country bumpkins from this tiny divine kingdom don't know what kind of existence our Earth Spirit sect is, a woman said among the 7 protectors. Her crisp voice was filled with coldness while her eyes were frigid. Afterwards, she looked at the 2 late over gods and said, Senior Gong, Senior Wu, the people from the Tian Yuan clan are bold enough to try to kill the protectors of our Earth Spirit sect. They cannot be spared from their crimes. I think the Tian Yuan clan really has no reason to continue existing. The 2 seniors nodded emotionlessly. Senior Gong said easily, since Junior N feels there's no more reason for the Tian Yuan clan to exist, let's destroy them. The Tian Yuan clan has suppressed Junior Yen for so long. It's time for them to pay the price. This Jian Chen has some skill. It'll probably take me a while to kill him if I fight him all alone. Whatever. Just leave him to Protector Gong and me. The rest of you go deal with the other people from the Tian Yuan clan. But you have to remember to not destroy the provincial city. It's Junior Yan's territory, Senior Wu said as well. He looked in the direction of the Wainer clan and smiled faintly. Junior Yan's talent really is great. He's about to break through to mid-over good soon. Let's move quickly. Once he emerges, we'll give him the head of the patriarch from the Tian Yuan clan as a gift. The protectors discussed the matter among themselves. With just that, they were ready to eliminate the Tian Yuan clan completely. They did not treat Jian Chen with any importance at all. Jian Chen's killing intent surged when he heard them talk. He said coldly, I've already shown mercy before by not killing the 2 of you. If you don't know what's best for you, you can't blame me for not showing any more mercy. The 2 late over gods laughed. Protector Gong said scornfully, just by yourself? You're just an over god of a divine kingdom, just a country bumpkin, yet you dare talk to us like that? Allow me to witness just what skills you have to back up your words. With that, a powerful pulse of energy radiated from Protector Gong like a great wave. At that moment, Protector Gong's presence soared. It was extremely surprising. He formed a seal with 2 hands and fire rose up from him. It gave off a terrifying heat. The laws of fire condensed around him. The flames burnt more and more vigorously. In the blink of an eye, they went from red to gold. Terrifying energy shook up the surroundings, causing the ground to sink. The tall city walls shuddered. Adamant seal of flames. Protector Gong called out. His body seemed to become a sun in the sky, shining with blinding light as he charged towards Jian Chen in an unstoppable manner. The terrifying heat made him seem like a furnace of the world, and it was enough for space to distort. He used a powerful battle skill right from the start. He did not hold back at all, wanting to finish the battle fast and show off the greatness of the Earth Spirit sect. At the same time, Protector Wu struck out as well. He wielded a huge, 2-handed sword that shone with golden light. He also used a powerful battle skill. The laws of metal revolved around the huge sword as he directly slashed out. The strike possessed all the power of laws and energy that had accumulated on the sword. They fused together to form a thin, golden thread. The energy inside had been compressed through a special method with the battle skill such that the power of the golden thread would even make the expressions of many late overgods change. The 2 protectors both used powerful battle skills from the Earth Spirit sect. Neither of them was weaker than Yang Kai. Very few late overgods could stand up to them. Daluo sword. Jian Chen formed a seal with his hands, and a golden sword chi condensed above him. It shot towards Protector Wu with lightning speed. At the same time, he roared out at the sky. His hair danced purely from the energy he gave off, and his battle intent surged. The startling rainbow sword shone brightly as the power of laws revolved around him. He seemed to have fused with his sword, shooting aggressively towards Protector Gong. Jian Chen moved extremely quickly, like a comet through the sky. The origin energy that stood in his way had all been blasted to pieces. When they began fighting, of the 3 remaining protectors, the 2 mid-over-god women directly charged for the provincial city. Their eyes shone with cold killing intent as they directly made their way towards the Tian Yuan clan. The last mid-over-god stood before the 2 people who just had their heads reconnected to their bodies, protecting them. Chapter 1902, Jian Chen's Might. 1. The roles of each of the 5 protectors were extremely clear. The 2 most powerful protectors dealt with Jian Chen, while one of the remaining 3 protected the other 2 injured protectors. The final 2 protectors would directly make their way towards the Tian Yuan clan in an attempt to destroy it. The formations of the provincial city had been activated long ago. It formed an energy screen that protected the entire city. Although the Tian Yuan clan had spent a great effort in reinforcing the formation of the city, elevating it to the level of overgods, it could only block attacks from early overgods. Under the teamwork of the 2 mid-overgods, it was naturally unable to stop them, and it crumbled without much effort at all. The 2 women from the Earth Spirit sect gave off icy presences with killing intent as they made their way towards the Tian Yuan clan aggressively. Boom! A deafening sound rang out beyond the provincial city. Jian Chen had already engaged in an intense battle against Protectors Gong and Wu. His golden sword Qi collided with Protector Wu's golden thread that had been materialized from his battle skill. The golden thread exploded instantly, while the powerful origin energy and laws of metal expanded as an extremely great storm of energy that wreaked havoc in the surroundings. The terrifying pressure caused the ground to sink. The violent storm of energy struck the city walls as an extremely terrifying wave, immediately causing the great walls to crack. If it were not for the fact that the walls themselves were extraordinary, constructed from extremely tough material and engraved with countless complicated formations, just the wave of energy alone would have been enough to cause it to collapse. Protector Wu shone with dazzling golden light as the laws of metal revolved around him. He used it to fend off the incoming energy storm. However, his eyes suddenly narrowed at this moment. A sliver of disbelief appeared on his face. Right before him, a golden strand of sword Qi tore through the air, directly cut through the energy storm, and headed directly towards him. How is this possible? The battle skill I used couldn't even stop a strand of sword Qi? Protector Wu was extremely shocked. The golden sword Qi had already locked on his presence, so he could not avoid it. He could only take it head-on. However, time was tight. It was already too late for him to strike out. All he could do was place his huge sword across his body while pushing the laws of metal around him to the limit. A set of armor condensed from origin energy appeared on his body. It combined with the laws of metal that wove into his armor. Boom! There was a second sound. After tearing through Protector Wu's battle skill, the golden sword Qi struck his huge sword with great force. Protector Wu only sensed the shocking force pass onto him from the golden sword Qi. His body shook violently, while his hands became numb. The powerful force had pushed him into a constant retreat. Moreover, an extremely sharp sword intent surged over. It enveloped Protector Wu completely while the power of the laws of the sword faced off against the laws of metal on him. It produced an oppressive sound. The laws of the sword were one of the most offensive laws. It was even greater than the laws of metal that Protector Wu had comprehended. The laws of metal around him dispersed rapidly, forcefully ground away by the laws of the sword. It left behind lashes on his body, almost causing his armor to collapse. After personally witnessing the power of the Daluo sword, Protector Wu could not help but gasp. He was filled with shock. How is the patriarch of the Tian Yuan clan so powerful? Protector Wu's face changed, and he became extremely stern. In an open confrontation, just a single sword chi from the patriarch had almost injured him. He found this difficult to believe. Although the patriarch had beheaded 2 early over-gods before him, Protector Wu did not take it to heart because he was confident that he could also do something like that if he caught them by surprise. Everything had happened extremely quickly. The clash between the Daluo sword and Protector Wu had only lasted for a split second. At the same time, Jian Chen fused with his sword and collided with Protector Gong's adamant seal of flames that transformed him into a sun as a huge sword chi. A loud explosion rang out. Lu's sword chi filled the air. The startling rainbow sword shone brightly as it tore through the air as a beautiful streak. It directly punched through Protector Gong's sun. The sun shook violently. It flickered, but soon enough, strands of laws of fire condensed from the surroundings, consolidating it again. First transformation, Hand of the Adamant. Protector Gong's voice rang out. The sun that he had transformed into burned vigorously. The temperature in the surroundings suddenly skyrocketed. After he spoke, a huge hand completely condensed from fire reached out from the sun. A layer of golden flames covered it, and it swung towards Jian Chen with the might of the world. When the hand fell, a mysterious power appeared. It interwove with the laws and resonated with the world, sealing off the space around Jian Chen such that he became isolated. Jian Chen shone with dazzling white light. Using it as protection, chaotic force rampaged through his body. A strand of chaotic force curled around his startling rainbow sword as well, transforming its glow. At that moment, his vitality was pushed to his limits. He seemed to fuse with the sword in his hand completely. As he swung it, sword chi shot out like rain. They all shone brightly, forming a chain that landed on Protector Gong's hand. It had to be said that both Protector Gong and Protector Wu were extremely powerful. The battle skills they used were of high grade. The strength they displayed at that moment had completely exceeded Yang Kai's. Very few people would be their opponent with the same level of cultivation. However, Jian Chen cultivated the chaotic body. Coupled with the laws of the sword that were known to possess the most offensive power, he was even more powerful than them. With a single slash, the world paled before it. The seal Protector Gong's hand created shattered loudly before the strike, and the sword chi directly slashed through the hand. Protector Gong's sun shook violently. There seemed to be a faint grunt from within there. Clearly, after the hand was cut off, Protector Gong was affected as well. On the other hand, even though Jian Chen was protected by his glow that obscured his appearance, the presence he gave off did not weaken at all. Instead, it grew stronger, and he became bolder and bolder as he fought. How is the patriarch of the Tian Yuan clan so powerful? With the strength he is displaying right now, he can easily make it onto the 3,000 over-gods plaque. How can this tiny land with such poor resources produce such an expert? Protector Gong was secretly surprised. He and Protector Wu did not manage to gain the upper hand at all when they decided to work together against the patriarch of the Tian Yuan clan. This had surprised him. After cutting off the hand in a single strike, Jian Chen did not continue to entangle with the 2 late over-gods. He turned into a streak of light and shot towards the 2 women with surging killing intent. At this moment, the defensive formations of the Tian Yuan clan had all been activated. All the elders had already emerged from seclusion, and they had now gathered together sternly. In the Forbidden Grounds, Houston, Sacred Feather, Hong Lian, Hei Yu, and the others from the world of Forsaken Saints had all emerged as well. They stared outside the city sternly. Shangguan Mu'er had also emerged from seclusion. Her powerful presence as an over-god was being charged up. It was only increasing now so that she was ready to strike out at any time. Where do you think you're going? Stay here, you're our opponent, Protector Wu bellowed out. Origin energy surged on his huge sword as he slashed out several times with the laws of metal. He formed a huge net that wrapped around Jian Chen to block his path. Chapter 1903, Jian Chen's Might, 2, Piss Off. Jian Chen roared out as a vicious light flickered through his eyes. He opened a path with the startling rainbow sword. His every strike possessed the power of laws, and every single one of them resonated with the world. When it came in contact with Protector Wu's laws of metal, it tore through it all. Protector Wu's huge sword danced quickly. Energy surged, and the laws of the world appeared. The might of a powerful battle skill shook up the surroundings as he used his full strength against Jian Chen to keep him busy. Protector Wu fought with great difficulty. His face was extremely stern, and he had already paled. The Protector's uniform from the Earth Spirit sect on his body had already ripped. In such a short amount of time, he had already become covered in slashes and blood. Jian Chen formed a seal and used the Daluo sword again. It punched through the golden light around Protector Wu and struck his body. With a heavy thud, Protector Wu was sent flying while vomiting blood. His face was pale, and he was now very injured. The sword qi did not pierce through his body. Instead, his huge sword blocked it. However, he still became heavily injured regardless. How is the patriarch of the Tianyuan clan so strong? He's unstoppable. Are there still any overgods who can take him on? No, I can't let him catch up to my juniors, or it'll be too late even if I want to save them. Protector Wu was extremely shocked. He immediately took out some healing pills he had received from the Earth Spirit sect and consumed them before charging over once again. Jian Chen was worried about the Tianyuan clan, so he was not in the mood to continue fighting with Protector Wu. After pushing him back with a single strike, he wanted to hurry off to the Tianyuan clan. However, at this moment, a hand covered in golden flames appeared before Jian Chen with the laws of fire and shot towards him. Protector Gong had silently appeared behind Jian Chen. His eyes were filled with cold killing intent. Frigid light flickered through Jian Chen's eyes. He was extremely cold. Jian Chen experienced killing intent when the two protectors did everything they could to stop him so that they could buy time for the two mid-overgods to destroy the Tianyuan clan. The light around Jian Chen shone brighter, and chaotic force rampaged within him, filling every inch of his body. He pushed the defenses of his chaotic body to the maximum. He did not even try to dodge Protector Gong's palm strike. Instead, he directly used his back to resist it. Protector Gong's golden hand struck Jian Chen's layer of protective light with terrifying heat, destroying it. However, the light managed to waste away quite a lot of the laws of fire that had condensed within the hand. It had lost half of everything just to get through the light. In the end, it struck Jian Chen's back with only half its power. Thud. All of the power within Protector Gong's hand exploded on Jian Chen's back, blowing him far away. Protector Gong could not help but smile joyously when he saw his attack land. Jian Chen had used his body to take on the strike. Even though it had already weakened drastically to get through the light around Jian Chen, the remaining power was still extremely great. Any overgod would become heavily injured if they took such a strike regardless of how powerful they were. However, in the next moment, Protector Gong's complacent expression suddenly froze. His eyes widened as he stared at Jian Chen in utter disbelief. He became slightly stunned. He discovered that Jian Chen's complexion was the same as before after taking on the strike. He was still brimming with energy, and his presence did not weaken at all. It did not seem like he was injured at all. Instead, he flew towards the provincial city with even greater speed, pursuing Protector Gong's two juniors with lightning speed. The palm strike did not even seem like it was for injuring Jian Chen. Instead, it seemed like it was used to propel Jian Chen towards his two juniors. Why did this happen? My attack clearly landed on him. It's impossible for him to not become injured. Protector Gong watched on in disbelief. He had struck Jian Chen after so much difficulty, but he discovered that he failed to injure Jian Chen at all. This matter had taken him by surprise. Even in the Earth Spirit sect, his strength made him one of the top existences among all over gods. He was proud, yet he seemed like nothing time and time again after coming to a backwater place like the divine kingdom of Pingtian. The two women from the Earth Spirit sect also discovered that Jian Chen was chasing them. Jian Chen simply moved too quickly. It was impossible for them to destroy the Tian Yuan clan before he arrived, as they were only mid-over gods. Feng Xia, go destroy the Tian Yuan clan. I'll stop him, one of the women said coldly. She held a fan and swung it forcefully. It produced a cloud of sword qi that shot towards Jian Chen. Each strand of sword qi was only the size of a finger, and it fell on Jian Chen like rain. They all possessed the power from the laws of the sword. Jian Chen stabbed out. The light on the startling rainbow sword surged. The sword qi from the fan collided with the light from the startling rainbow sword, causing it all to disperse. Afterwards, a ray of light shot out from the startling rainbow sword. With a flash of white light in the sky, the light directly punched through the woman's chest. The woman vomited blood. At the same time, blood spurted out from her chest like a fountain, falling like rain. Filling the air, it seemed like a storm of blood, dyeing the streets of the city red. Junior Chen. The two late-over gods both cried out. They had already rushed over, stopping Jian Chen once again. The three of them began fighting above the city. Terrifying shockwaves of energy shook up the surroundings and kicked up storms. Many structures collapsed wherever it managed to hit. The city was in a mess. Everyone fled crazily. They all used everything they had to push their speeds to the limit. These were energy shockwaves from battles between late-over gods. Even gods could not endure it, not to mention the fact that many of them had not even attained godhood. Jian Chen was entangled with Protector Wu and Protector Gong. He was unable to break free temporarily, so it was difficult for him to heavily injure the final woman. At this moment, sword qi shot into the air. A dark, metal sword surged into the air from one of the streets in the city, directly towards the final protector. Jian Chen, just deal with the two of them without worrying. Leave the two women to me, Shen Jian's voice rang out. As he spoke, he struck Kaiya's back with a palm strike, sending her flying with a gentle force. At the same time, he called out, go return to the clan. After sending Kaiya away, Shen Jian shot up from the ground. He too flickered with light as he soared into the sky with sword qi. With the dark, metal sword in his hand, he began fighting with the female protector. The woman who had a hole punched through her chest by Jian Chen was not dead. She raised her head and looked at Shen Jian, who was busy fighting Feng Xia. Then, she glanced at Kaiya, who had been sent far away by Shen Jian. A cold light appeared in her eyes. Where did this overgod come from? He's sticking his nose into other people's business, getting in the way of us destroying the Tian Yuan clan. I'll definitely make you pay a heavy price. Since you pushed away that Saint Emperor ant before you began fighting with Feng Xia, she must be quite important to you. Oh right, I think I remember seeing you always guard her before. With a thought, the woman sneered, and with a single moment, she charged towards Kaiya with great speed. Chapter 1904, Jian Chen's Might, 3, Jian Chen and Shen Jian both noticed the protector who charged straight for Kaiya. However, they were both busy with their opponents and were unable to break free immediately. Even if they could shake off their opponents temporarily, it would have been too late. Kaiya was not far away from the female protector. With the female protector's cultivation at mid-over god, she only needed a split second to arrive before Kaiya. She swung her fan gently and produced a barrage of rain-like sword qi that flooded towards Kaiya. Kaiya's eyes suddenly narrowed. In this moment of life or death, she did not become flustered at all. Instead, she stared at the barrage of sword chi with interest. She was only a saint emperor right now, so she was as puny as an ant before a mid-over god. It was impossible for her to survive the attacks of a mid-over god, let alone even see it. However, to her surprise, she could actually see every movement of the female protector clearly. Time seemed to become extremely slow in her eyes. She clearly saw that the trajectories of the sword chi as they approached her like a storm. Unfortunately, although Kaya could see everything, she was still too weak in the end. She did not even have the ability to dodge the attack. She knew very well just what would happen if she was hit. There would be no hopes of survival. Let alone having her soul dispersed, even her corpse would not remain whole. However, at this moment when she faced death, her heart became extraordinarily calm while her face did not change at all. If Jian Chen could see the current Kaya, he would definitely become filled with suspicion, as she seemed like a completely different person to the Kaya he once knew. They were still the same person, but her mind and presence seemed to belong to someone else. Arg! In the sky, Jian Chen roared out as he fought against the two protectors. Killing intent surged from his body as his presence became extremely astounding. At that moment, his two eyes seemed to become silver-white as they radiated with sharp sword chi. He was already ready to use the profound sword chi to directly kill the female protector now that Kaya was in danger. At the same time, Shangguan Muer's expression changed suddenly in the forbidden grounds of the Tian Yuan clan. She sat in the air. At the same time, her zither had silently appeared. She placed it across her knees and was about to provide support. At that moment, she could no longer follow Jian Chen's advice to keep her strength hidden. However, just when Jian Chen was about to use his profound sword chi and Shangguan Muer was about to play her zither, an azure light suddenly appeared. It arrived in front of Kaya before Jian Chen and Shangguan Muer could make their moves, turning into a huge, azure disk that stood before her. Ding 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 ding. The rain-like sword chi struck the azure disk, and they all dispersed. They transformed into a powerful pulse of energy that wreaked havoc in the city, throwing structures into the air and creating huge cracks in the ground. Chanlong? Jian Chen's eyes narrowed. He checked below him with the senses of his soul and saw everything clearly. Immediately, he became stunned. He had never thought that Master Chanlong would actually save Kaya at such an important moment. In the forbidden grounds of the clan, Shangguan Muer was stunned as well. She stared in Kaya's direction and put her zither away. Master Chanlong stood leisurely behind the azure disk. He extended his right hand and controlled the disk that was 3 meters wide. No matter how violent it was on the other side, the disk blocked it all out with great ease. Who are you? Do you want to become enemies with the Earth Spirit sect? The female protector became enraged. Her face sank heavily. They had come to destroy the Tian Yuan clan for their junior yen, but none of them had ever thought they would be stopped time and time again. It made her furious. Did the divine kingdom of Ping Tian want to turn against them? Overgods showed up one after another to stop them in a backwater city like this. With a wave of his sleeve, the azure disk hovered above Master Chanlong. He stared at the woman with the fan. His hands were behind his back while his face was extremely calm. He said, "I don't want to become enemies with the Earth Spirit sect, but this person is my friend. As long as I'm here, you protectors of the Earth Spirit sect won't be able to touch a single hair on her." Master Chanlong was extremely confident. He did not treat the 7 protectors as anything important at all. However, he really did have that strength. He possessed the power to back up his arrogance. If he had enough time to cast down formations, he could even kill God Kings. Daluo sword. Tai sword technique. On the other side, Jian Chen had already struck out with his full strength. The golden sword Qi shot towards Protector Wu's huge sword, tearing through the defenses of his golden light and punching through his chest. Protector Wu grunted, and blood spurted out of his mouth. He was blown away like a cannonball, becoming extremely injured. At the same time, Jian Chen fused with his sword. Sword Qi gathered around his body as he became the sword himself, shooting towards Protector Wu. Second transformation, Foot of the Adamant. Protector Gong used a battle skill once again. A huge foot condensed below him. With the battle skill's might, it stomped towards Jian Chen. The second transformation was even more powerful than the first. As the foot fell, the space underneath it seemed to become compressed. It created several booms while even space rippled and became distorted. Jian Chen was fearless. As a sword, he charged straight at it with surging presence. His battle prowess was just shocking. Boom! The foot and the sword collided loudly. Shockwaves of energy filled the sky, causing it to warp and change in color. The foot collapsed loudly, while Jian Chen tore through the shockwaves without slowing down at all. He shot towards Protector Gong like a bolt of lightning. Protector Gong backpedaled as he grunted. His face was completely flushed, and blood oozed from the corner of his lips. That was not all, however, even his eyes, nostrils, and ears dripped with blood. He was bleeding from all his orifices. Even though he was very injured, he did not dare to rest. He had already become extremely stern. The laws of fire rapidly gathered towards his hands such that his flaming red hands gradually became golden like metal. It radiated with terrifying pulses of energy. He swung down with both hands with basically all the origin energy within him to fend off the incoming Jian Chen. Jian Chen's gaze was cold. With a swirl of sword Qi, he directly made his way around the arms. Blood splattered and both of the Protector's arms had been chopped off. Blood filled with air. Protector Gong produced an extremely painful grunt. The muscles on his face distorted while huge beads of sweat covered his forehead. His face was extremely pale. A powerful sword Qi surrounded the arms that had been chopped off. The sword Qi was like flesh-eating insects, rapidly destroying his arms. In just a short moment, both of the arms had been reduced to a meaty pulp, severing the hope of reattaching his arms as the easiest way to regain use of them. Chapter 1905, End of the Crisis, Jian Chen. Protector Gong roared out furiously. His eyes had become completely bloodshot. He would need quite a long time to recover his arms now that Jian Chen had completely destroyed them. It would even end up damaging his vitality. Moreover, even though he was a late-over god, Protector Gong was incapacitated now that he had lost both of his arms. The laws of fire that had condensed around him had already dispersed, while he, who had transformed into a sun due to the laws, reappeared. His body was covered with vicious and terrifying slashes. He was bloodied and in a horrible condition while his face was sheet white, giving off a sense of weakness. Today, both Protector Gong and Protector Wu had become heavily injured and reduced to a horrible shape. They were not like Jian Chen, who possessed the tough chaotic body. As a result, their battle prowess had been greatly reduced after being injured. They were nowhere near close to their peak condition. However, Jian Chen did not plan to let them off just yet. He swung the startling rainbow sword and produced two huge chains created from sword Qi. He attacked the two protectors again, forcing them to vomit blood. At the same time, their wounds worsened. They were completely incapacitated now. Senior Gong and Senior Wu have actually been defeated. They actually can't beat the patriarch of the Tian Yuan clan even when working together. They even failed to injure him. How is this possible? It's impossible. In the distance, the two early over-gods and the only other protector who did not take part in the battle struggled to accept this outcome. They were in disbelief. In their eyes, even among all the over-gods of the Earth Spirit sect, Protector Gong and Protector Wu ranked towards the very top. They were extremely close to God King, and they only required a final step. However, what happened before them today had completely overturned their understandings. Working together, the powerful protectors had actually lost to an over-god from a backwater city. In the provincial city, Shen Jian wielded his dark sword as sword qi surged from him. His intense battle with Feng Xia had already risen from the original altitude of a few hundred meters to 10,000 meters. Even though Feng Xia was a mid-over-god, making her cultivation greater than Shen Jian, who was only an early over-god, Shen Jian suppressed her firmly when they actually clashed. Who is this person? How is he so powerful? Is he the prodigy of some great sect? Feng Xia was extremely shocked inside. Pitted against Shen Jian's lightning-swift attacks, she had already used her full strength, without holding back anything at all. However, even with that being the case, she only just managed to keep him at bay. She was reduced to just dealing with whatever he threw at her, completely losing the upper hand. Below, the woman with the fan wanted to kill Kaya, but she was entangled with Chanlong. She was extremely annoyed and had attacked Chanlong without any hesitation at all. However, Master Chanlong was a famed formations master. He possessed extremely great mastery over the laws of formations, so just a single defensive formation from him could nullify all the attacks from the woman with ease. Master Chanlong and Kaya stood within the formation. Master Chanlong had his hands behind his back as he stared at the woman outside leisurely. He allowed her to attack the formation exhaustively with a pale face and did not fight back at all. With my support, even if you attack this formation for 10,000 years straight, you won't be able to get through it. I only want to protect my friend. I don't want to become enemies with your Earth Spirit sect, so you better stop it now, Master Chanlong said plainly. The woman's eyes turned cold when she heard that. She said frigidly, "There's nothing I can do about your formation, but you should know that our Earth Spirit sect is filled with talents and experts. Let alone over-gods, but we even have quite a few god kings as well. If you continue to get in our way, our Earth Spirit sect will not spare you." Master Chanlong ignored the woman's threats. He said indifferently, "Although I don't want to become enemies with your Earth Spirit sect, that doesn't mean I fear your Earth Spirit sect. If you want to keep going, I can only cast down a formation and keep you trapped." The woman's chest heaved with anger. She was a mighty protector of the Earth Spirit sect. In a backwater kingdom like this, she would receive only respect wherever she went. She had never become so furious before. However, when she saw how fearless Master Chanlong was, she understood that this old man was not joking with her. She immediately glanced at him with resentment before turning around and flying towards the Tian Yuan clan. "Tian Yuan clan, it's all because of you. If I swear I will destroy you today." Killing intent filled the woman's eyes. Even though she had taken a strike from Jian Chen and was injured, she was a mid-over-god after all. Wiping out a clan without an over-god would require no effort at all. However, at this moment, a streak of light shot over the horizon, arriving with lightning speed. It moved extremely quickly, piercing through her chest before she could even react. Spurt. Blood sprayed into the air, and the woman grunted. The startling rainbow sword had pierced her entire body. Jian Chen gripped the sword with a single hand as he stared coldly at the woman with killing intent. As he pushed out with his right hand, the sword flew off with the woman, directly stabbing into the damaged city walls in the end. It pinned her there firmly. Seeing how Jian Chen had already dealt with his opponents, Shen Jian went serious. He used his full strength and the cloud stream sword suddenly shook. A visible ripple spread out from it. This ripple contained a devastating power. Once the ripple hit Feng Xia, her clothes were immediately reduced to tatters, revealing her slender figure. However, her body was already covered in blood, and even her bones were shaken to dust by the ripple. Now, the battle had finally ended. 6 of the 7 protectors had been heavily injured, only leaving behind a single mid-over god who did not take part in the battle. He was already utterly stunned and pale by now, and he no longer possessed the courage to keep on fighting. How did this happen? How? The 2 protectors that Jian Chen had beheaded opened their eyes as well. They stared at the injured Protector Gong and Protector Wu as well as the woman who struggled painfully as she was pinned to the wall. They became so frightened that they trembled. They, the 7 protectors of the Earth Spirit sect, had actually all been defeated by an over-god clan from a backwater place like the divine kingdom of Pingtian. They took it very hard. At this moment, a tremendous presence suddenly soared into the sky from the Wainer clan within the city. It enveloped the entire provincial city. Wainer Yen had finally emerged from seclusion after all these years of cultivation. He had also successfully broken through to mid-over god. However, just when Wainer Yan's presence appeared, it froze all of a sudden. The black-robed Wainer Yen charged out of the clan in a hurry. He hovered in the sky as he observed everything in shock. Disbelief filled his face. Clearly, he had completely stopped paying attention to the outside world when he broke through. He had no idea what had happened in the provincial city. Senior Gong, Senior Wu, Senior Feng, Senior Chen, why, you all, Wainer Yen cried out as he struggled to believe what he was seeing. Wainer Yan's eyes had become completely bloodshot when he saw the woman who had been pinned against the city walls by Jian Chen's startling rainbow sword. He became utterly enraged. Jian Chen, so it's you. You injured my seniors. Wainer Yan's eyes locked onto Jian Chen very soon, and he roared out furiously. His presence surged, and the laws of strength wove into his body as he charged towards Jian Chen aggressively. Jian Chen frowned. With a gentle wave of his sleeve, the laws around him formed a sword. It exploded with sword intent and took off as a streak of light, shooting towards Wainer Yen. Wainer Yen had just become a mid-over god. Compared to before, his strength had increased drastically. He struck out as hard as he could, dealing his strongest strike, but it was not enough to stop the sword chi that Jian Chen had sent out casually. Boom! Blood spurted from Wainer Yan's mouth as he was blown back. The laws of strength dispersed into the surroundings. His breakthrough had failed to close the gap between him and Jian Chen. Instead, the gap had grown even wider. No, how did this happen? Impossible. This is impossible. Wainer Yen murmured in low spirits as he half knelt on the ground while blood oozed from the corner of his lips. He was confident that he could put up a fight against Jian Chen after breaking through. He was even confident that he could defeat Jian Chen, suppress the Tian Yuan clan, and rule over the Dong'an province. However, in a single clash, he discovered that Jian Chen had become even more powerful to the point where he struggled to believe it. This had affected him greatly. Chapter 1906, The Grand Imperial Protector's Plea for Mercy, Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan. 2 worried cries rang out. The only 2 gods of the Wainer clan flew out as quickly as they could. They had personally witnessed Wainer Yen being defeated by Jian Chen in a single strike, so they felt extremely worried inside. They could no longer care about how dangerous it was, and they directly shot out of the clan to Wainer Yan's side. Xiao Yan, are you alright? Xiao Yan, you must stay calm. Don't rush into things. In the future, we won't become enemies with the Tian Yuan clan. We don't want the provincial city of the Dong'an province anymore either. The 2 gods of the Wainer clan said with concern, but when they reached the end of these words, they seemed to lose all their fighting spirit. They seemed to have become much older. During these past few years, Wainer Yen had always been in secluded cultivation. He did not pay attention to the outside world, but the 2 gods understood everything that had happened extremely well. Jian Chen had first challenged the ancestor of the Yang family, Yang Kai, and defeated him. He defeated the person who was known as the strongest expert below God King in the divine kingdom of Pingtian. Afterwards, the 3 overgods from the Empyrean demon cult attacked the Ling family in the sword-seeking province and sealed off the entire place. All the overgods in the divine kingdom did not dare to speak out against them. Even the royal family chose to remain silent. However, the patriarch of the Tian Yuan clan stood forward righteously and selflessly, killing his way through the sword-seeking province by himself and claiming the lives of the 3 overgods. The matter made him famous. He was an overgod who did not fear even the Empyrean demon cult. With his powerful strength and willingness to kill, the very souls of the 2 gods had already been affected. They were confident that if the Weiner clan continued to stand against the Tian Yuan clan, it would only lead to their own destruction in the end. Of course, what they worried the most about was Weiner Yan. They were now an overgod clan, but without Weiner Yan's support, they would be nothing. They would not even be one of the more powerful clans among god clans. No, I refuse. I refuse to accept this, Weiner Yan choked out. His strength had broken through once again. Let alone the southern region, but he would even be considered a talent with the entire cloud plain in perspective for reaching mid-overgod at such a young age. He should have been awe-inspiring and glorious, but after suffering a setback like this, he took it very hard. Shen Jian arrived before Jian Chen with his sword on his back. He glanced at the injured protectors who laid on the ground, and he frowned. We can't kill these people. Killing them will cause great trouble. Jian Chen nodded slightly. He also understood that. As a result, he only heavily injured the protectors when he fought them and did not kill a single one of them. The Earth Spirit sect was different from the Empyrean demon cult. The Empyrean demon cult was a demonic cult. Although they were far more powerful than the Earth Spirit sect, their reputation was horrible. They were a cult that all the major organizations on the plane disliked. Once the cult did something overboard or went too far, the large organizations would not just sit by and watch. They would definitely stand forward to stop them. However, the Earth Spirit sect was honest and righteous. If he killed the protectors of the Earth Spirit sect even when they had provoked him first, the Earth Spirit sect would have all the right in the world to deal with the Tian Yuan clan. Even the Divine King would not stop them. Because of them, half of the provincial city has been destroyed and the other half is heavily damaged. It is nothing like how it was before. Even if they're protectors of the Earth Spirit sect, they have to pay for what they've done, Jian Chen said emotionlessly. Silently, a strand of golden thread appeared near his wrist. The golden thread was the primordial god silk that had snapped in half when it fended off the crisis of the world on the Tian Yuan continent. The primordial god silk was an extremely rare treasure of the world. Even in the saints' world and the immortals' world, it was one of the best materials out there. Unfortunately, the silk had snapped, and Jian Chen's strength was nowhere near enough to reconnect the 2 parts, let alone forge it into an artifact. As a result, the primordial god silk was basically useless to him. Suddenly, the primordial god silk elongated from Jian Chen's wrist. One end remained wrapped around Jian Chen's arm, while the other end shot towards the protectors of the Earth Spirit sect like a snake, wrapping around them. The injured protectors were unable to put up a struggle at all. The primordial god silk tied them up firmly, completely immobilizing them. In particular, the woman who had been pinned to the wall was pulled away in an extremely brutal manner after she was tied up. The sword hilt passed through her body, creating a fist-sized hole. "I will never spare you for treating me like this," the woman screamed out. She was extremely furious. The only protector who did not take part in the battle could sense the horrible situation. He immediately took out a teleportation formation disc in an attempt to flee. A gleam of light flashed through Jian Chen's eyes when he sensed this person's intentions. The startling rainbow sword that had been stabbed into the city wall immediately flew over, stabbing into the formation disc with lightning speed and destroying it then and there. In the next moment, the primordial god Silk reached over and tied him up as well. All 7 protectors of the Earth Spirit sect had been tied up now. Jian Chen, release my seniors. Weiner Yen paled at the sight of this as he said through gritted teeth. Jian Chen ignored his furious demands. However, at this moment, Jian Chen's expression changed. Suddenly, he raised his head towards the sky. In the sky, the space rippled slightly. In the next moment, the Grand Imperial Protector of the Divine Kingdom of Pingtian appeared silently. Jian Chen, please let them go. The Grand Imperial Protector concealed his presence as he said to Jian Chen in an approachable manner. The emotions in his eyes were slightly mixed. Let them go? Jian Chen's face sank when he heard that. He responded, Imperial Protector, why don't you have a look at the city? They come wreaking havoc in my Dong'an province by abusing their statuses as protectors of the Earth Spirit sect. It was a perfectly good city, but now it has been reduced to a mess. Countless people have been injured, and they even said they wanted to destroy my Tianyuan clan. Is my Tianyuan clan really that easy to abuse? The Grand Imperial Protector sighed, Jian Chen, you must also understand that the 7 of them aren't like the 3 overgods from the Empyrean demon cult. They can't just be killed like that. Moreover, our divine kingdom of Pingtian currently faces the threat of the Empyrean demon cult. At such a crucial time, we must focus on the big picture. We can't turn on ourselves at a time like this. Dealing with the Empyrean demon cult is our main objective. The 7 protectors have come to assist us in fending off the Empyrean demon cult. The Grand Imperial Protector tossed a space ring at Jian Chen and said, there are some divine crystals in there as well as quite a few healing pills. Just treat it as making up for the losses of the Dong'an province. Jian Chen, just treat it as doing it for me. Let them go. Chapter 1907, Quietening down. Jian Chen caught the space ring that the Grand Imperial Protector had thrown at him and checked its contents with the senses of his soul. There were only 2 types of things in the space ring, divine crystals and pills. However, there were mountainous piles of both divine crystals and pills. There were many of them, and they were stacked neatly together. Even Jian Chen became amazed at the quantity of the mountainous pile of divine crystals. There are probably 100 billion divine crystals here or even more than that, Jian Chen marveled secretly. Even though he was used to seeing a lot of divine crystals, he was still amazed when he saw such a tremendous sum. The only pity was that all the divine crystals were low grade. As a result, once converted, they were only 1 billion mid-grade divine crystals or 10 million high-grade divine crystals. 1 million mid-grade divine crystals were equivalent to a block, so 10 million high-grade divine crystals were equivalent to 10 blocks of high-grade divine crystal. This was equivalent to the wealth of most overgod clans. The healing pills were just like the divine crystals. They were not of a particularly high grade, but they possessed quite the evident healing effects. The divine crystals were used to make up for the loss of the provincial city so that he could rebuild it, while the pills were clearly for the people who had been injured by the battle. Jian Chen understood that the Grand Imperial Protector had come with these items on purpose. He had prepared them beforehand. After all, it was quite difficult to gather such a great number of resources in a short period of time. Jian Chen fell silent for a while with the space ring in hand before saying, since the Imperial Protector himself has come asking for mercy, I'll let this matter be for now. Their lives are spared, but they cannot avoid punishment. Even if they're protectors of the Earth Spirit sect, they need to pay a price for destroying my provincial city. With that, Jian Chen extended his hand and shot out 6 strands of sword qi towards the foreheads of 6 of the people around instantly. Each strand of sword qi was the size of a needle. Trapped, the protectors of the Earth Spirit sect were unable to dodge Jian Chen's attack at all, let alone resist. The sword qi pierced their skin easily. It made its way through their foreheads and headed straight for their brains, injuring their souls. Arg! The 6 heavily injured protectors could not help but cry out painfully. They were all haggard and extremely weak. Jian Chen had controlled the power of the sword qi perfectly. It would injure but not kill, wounding their souls. It would be extremely difficult for them to recover from this unless they had special heavenly resources or pills. However, both of those items were priceless. You've actually injured our souls. Once our master arrives, he'll never spare you. The woman with the fan stared at Jian Chen with resentment as she ground her teeth. The other protectors also looked at Jian Chen with fury. Their gazes made them seem like they just wanted to eat Jian Chen alive. The only protector who did not take part in the battle had become utterly frightened. He did not dare to utter a single word. Perhaps because he did not take part, but Jian Chen did not target him specifically. Jian Chen did not injure his soul. Afterwards, Jian Chen released the restraints he had placed on them with the primordial god silk, allowing them to regain their mobility. The Grand Imperial Protector glanced at the black-clothed Shen Jian deeply as well as Master Chanlong who stood before Kaya in the provincial city. Afterwards, he left with the 7 protectors. Naturally, Weiner Yen did not stay. He left with the Grand Imperial Protector. He had stood up for his seniors and ended up heavily injured. He had to go tend to them, regardless of the reason. After seeing how the Earth Spirit sect had created such a great mess, the 2 gods of the Weiner clan did not remain in the city either. They followed Weiner Yen to the royal capital. The Dong'an province quietened down once again. However, the shockwaves of energy from the battle lingered in the sky. The fierce wind whistled loudly. Jian Chen turned around to look at the damaged city walls. He could not help but sigh as he revealed a sliver of helplessness. At this moment, Mo Ling, Ando Fu, Nan Yuntong, and the other elders flew out from the city. They gathered before Jian Chen and stared at him in admiration and reverence. Houston, Sacred Feather, Xiao Jin, Xiao Ling, Rui Jin, He Yu, Hong Lian, and so on all emerged from the forbidden grounds. They also gathered before him. However, Shengguan Mu'er did not appear. "Brother, are we just going to let them go like this?" Sacred Feather asked. He was extremely reluctant as a powerful battle intent radiated from him clearly. "Sob, they're so bad. They've destroyed our home," like a pitiful girl, Xiao Ling choked back her tears as her face was filled with sadness. The other people all expressed their sympathy regarding the matter sincerely. "Our business with the Earth Spirit sect isn't over. Let's all go back first," Jian Chen said to everyone. He knew extremely well that the greater the sect, the more prideful they would be. Now that the 7 protectors of the Earth Spirit sect had actually suffered defeat at the hands of an over-god clan in a backwater kingdom like the divine kingdom of Pingtian, they would never just let the matter stand. Today was only a start. Jian Chen directly went to find Kaya in the provincial city. His feelings became extremely mixed when he saw Master Chanlong standing before her. He knew that if it were not for Master Chanlong's protection today, Kaya definitely would have been done for. Master Chanlong had saved her life today. "Chanlong, no matter what, I must thank you for what you did today," Jian Chen said to Chanlong. Master Chanlong was indifferent towards Jian Chen's expression of gratitude. He said calmly, "It had nothing to do with you. I was only protecting my friend." Afterwards, Master Chanlong looked at Kaya, and his voice became much gentler. He said, "Kaya, the 3 armies of the Empyrean demon cult are about to attack the divine kingdom of Pingtian. Staying here isn't safe anymore. Why don't you leave with me? Chanlong, you may have saved Kaya, but don't even think about taking her away. Otherwise, I can only get you to stay as well." Before Kaya could respond, Jian Chen cut into the conversation. He spoke forcefully, leaving no room for negotiation. He would never allow Kaya to leave with someone she had only met recently. Moreover, he always felt that Master Chanlong might have ulterior motives for befriending Kaya, who was only a saint emperor, while he was a mighty late over-god. Let alone the difference in strength, but they had even only known each other for so long. Moreover, Kaya possessed a seven-colored heaven-devouring beast that had followed her out of its own free will. He even suspected whether Master Chanlong had recognized what it was, which was why he was interacting with Kaya actively. Jian Chen, I must admit that your strength is greater than the past, but keeping me here is impossible if I want to leave, Master Chanlong responded forcefully without any fear. Chanlong, Jian Chen, stop arguing. Kaya hurried to stand between them after sensing the atmosphere between them was becoming more and more intense. She was afraid the two of them would begin fighting. Chanlong, thank you for saving me. However, Jian Chen is the most important friend in my life right now. I won't leave him, Kaya said seriously. Master Chanlong stared at Kaya with interest. After a while, he finally sighed gently, fair enough. Since you choose to stay behind, I won't force you to leave with me. Master Chanlong no longer said any more after that. He turned around and made his way out of the city, leaving the Dong'an province. Jian Chen just watched him leave and did not stop him. Regardless of what he had done in the past, Chanlong had saved Kaya's life. He could not continue attacking him anymore. It really is strange though. I clearly haven't seen you before, but why do I feel a sense of familiarity? Kaya still felt extremely puzzled as she looked at Master Chanlong's back. She returned with Jian Chen to the Tian Yuan clan with a slight bit of confusion. Chapter 1908, Elders of the Earth Spirit Sect in the Tian Yuan clan. Jian Chen called for a meeting with all the elders in the clan. He passed down orders for rebuilding the city and to provide relief before passing the space ring he had received from the Grand Imperial Protector to Mo Ling, Ando Fu, and Nanyun Tong so that they could handle the reconstruction. All the losses suffered by the stores this time would be repaid using the divine crystals from the Grand Imperial Protector. Also, even the injured people received healing pills. All of them were covered and different numbers of pills were given out depending on the injury suffered. In short, the items that the Grand Imperial Protector had given to Jian Chen had all been handed down. There was nothing left of it, and the Tian Yuan clan had to take out quite a lot of divine crystals and pills themselves. The Tian Yuan clan had displayed meticulous concern for the citizens of the city as they handled the matter, so they immediately received much praise from the people. Everyone in the city felt respect and admiration for the Tian Yuan clan from the bottom of their hearts. At the same time, the news of the battle between the Tian Yuan clan and the Protectors of the Earth Spirit Sect, one of the two great sects of the Heavenly Moon Empire, had spread like wildfire. It led to quite a few discussions in many neighboring divine kingdoms and even reached the Heavenly Moon Empire before spreading even further than that. Many people found the news to be just too shocking. Not only had an over-god clan from a divine kingdom repelled the attacks from 7 protectors of the Earth Spirit Sect, but they had even achieved a glorious result and a fantastic victory. The patriarch of the Tian Yuan clan, Jian Chen, was particularly impressive. He took on 2 late over-gods from the Earth Spirit Sect all by himself. Not only did he gain the upper hand, but he even achieved victory in an overwhelming manner. He had defeated his opponents without suffering any injuries at all. Many people believed that the patriarch of the Tian Yuan clan already possessed the strength to make it onto the 3000 over-gods plaque. As a result, Jian Chen gradually gained influence in the surrounding region. The over-gods plaque recorded the 3000 strongest over-gods in the entire Saints world. It went across the 49 Great Plains and the 81 Great Planets. Once someone made it onto the plaque, they would directly soar to stardom. Many large organizations and sects would want to rope them in. Even a few extremely ancient organizations would be interested in recruiting them. Without any exaggeration, making it onto the over-gods plaque would allow people to gain influence across the entire Saints world. Their name would appear on all the plaques on the 49 Great Plains and the 81 Great Planets. Everyone would know about them. Now that Jian Chen was rumored to possess the strength to make it onto the Overgod's plaque, he naturally attracted quite a lot of attention and discussion. Even a few large organizations had already taken note of him. However, in regards to the disturbance he had caused, Jian Chen had no idea about it. He had locked himself up in a gloomy room underground as he held a fist-sized monster core. He constantly absorbed the energy inside. This was one of the few Overgod monster cores he had obtained from the Een Mountains of Seven's Despair. Furthermore, he possessed a few cores from plants he had killed there, and they were also at the level of Overgods. Jian Chen expected the future to no longer be as peaceful as before after he heavily injured the protectors of the Earth Spirit sect. Now that he had enough resources on him, he would naturally use the spare time he had to increase his own strength so that his chaotic body could break through as soon as possible. While Jian Chen was in seclusion, the reconstruction of the city progressed extremely smoothly. Many Origin Realm cultivators personally took part, and even a few deities helped out as well. They used their special techniques, so the city was repaired extremely quickly. In just 3 short days, 70% of the city had been repaired. At the same time, the royal palace welcomed 3 special guests. They were personally received by the Grand Imperial Protector, who smiled from ear to ear as he invited them in, settling them down in the well-decorated palace. "Esteemed guests, I'll trouble you for now by having you stay in the Evergreen Palace. If there is any part that inconveniences you, you must bring it forward." The Grand Imperial Protector clasped his fist at the 3 of them. He smiled and spoke extremely politely. "Thank you, Imperial Protector." The 3 people also clasped their fists back at the Imperial Protector. They behaved in an approachable manner, and they did not put up a haughty air at all. After leading the people to their residences, the Grand Imperial Protector left, while the 3 people entered the well-decorated palace. They saw the 7 protectors of the Earth Spirit sect standing there politely as soon as they entered the palace. 6 of them were still injured. Moreover, due to their souls, they were all pale and haggard. They gave off a sense of weakness. Apart from the 7 of them, Weiner Yen was also present. He stood with the 7 people. Disciple greets Master, Elder Ma, and Elder Fang. The 7 protectors and Weiner Yen all bowed. They were extremely polite, but there was also a sense of uneasiness within all that. Seeing them, the 3 elders from the Earth Spirit sect stopped being as amiable as when they faced the Grand Imperial Protector. Their faces sank rapidly, and they seemed furious. At the same time, they seemed to give off extremely tremendous presences. The 8 Overgods before them all became frightened. "Humph, you're all useless," the middle-aged man to the left said coldly. He stared at them with a sunken face and said in exasperation as if it was directed at their failure, "There is a total of 8 of you. 8 Overgods, each possessing the powerful battle skills from the sect. That is probably enough for you to even stand up to all the Overgods in the divine kingdom of Pingtian, yet you were defeated by a mere Overgod clan. Our Earth Spirit sect has been completely humiliated by you. Even the sect master has learnt of this. He's furious. Tell me, how should I explain this to him? Do I tell him that I'm useless? Or do I tell him you're useless? Or do I tell him your opponent was just too powerful?" The faces of the protectors reddened with shame under the scoldings of the middle-aged man. They were just too ashamed, and they stood there in a daze without talking back at all. They knew themselves that not only had their failure humiliated themselves, but they had also humiliated the entire Earth Spirit sect as well as their master. "Elder Mu, it has already happened. There's no use getting so angry. Moreover, your disciples are still wounded. You better have them recover first." Elder Ma, who stood in the center, spoke out for the disciples. The 3 elders were all middle-aged men, but Elder Ma seemed to be the leader among them. "Tell me, is the patriarch of the Tian Yuan clan really that skilled, that he can injure you like this?" Elder Fang said as well. He spoke extremely gently, as gentle as the spring breeze. Elder Fang, Jian Chen is indeed very strong. Although Protector Gong and I clashed with him several times, we completely failed to injure him at all. He basically completely overwhelmed our teamwork, and I feel like he didn't even use his full strength, Protector Wu said whilst bowing. Senior Wu is right. Jian Chen is indeed very strong. I couldn't even take on a single attack from him as a mid-over god. Moreover, Junior Yen could not even take on a single strike from him, even though he had just broken through to mid-over god and comprehended the laws of strength. This time, the woman with the fan spoke. After that, she looked at Elder Mu as if she wanted him to help them. She said pitifully, "Master, Jian Chen is completely loathsome. He pinned me to the city walls with his sword. You have to stand up for us. Please destroy Jian Chen and the Tian Yuan clan, Master. Although he's very powerful, he's only an ant before Master. Master would be able to crush him without any effort at all. Please Master. Please avenge us and redeem the Earth Spirit sect," the other female protector asked as well. She understood very well that she was not Jian Chen's opponent at all with her strength. She could only ask their master to help them now. Elder Mu snorted coldly with a sunken face, "And you still don't think you haven't embarrassed yourselves enough? You can't beat them yourself, so you want me, a mighty god king, to deal with an over-god. There'll be people criticizing us probably as soon as I wipe out the Tian Yuan clan. Do you think that can redeem our Earth Spirit sect? Idiots." Elder Mu's chest heaved heavily from anger. He had even begun to regret taking them in as his disciples. A while later, after Elder Mu slowly calmed down, a vicious light suddenly flickered in his eyes. He said coldly, "However, the patriarch of the Tian Yuan clan defeated you after all, and he made a joke out of our Earth Spirit sect, while he himself is benefiting from all of this. Since he's bold enough to trample over the Earth Spirit sect to elevate his personal fame, we have to make him pay a price. We just need to use a different method. The current divine kingdom of Ping Tian is no longer the same as the past." Elder Fang nodded in agreement. He crossed his arms and said leisurely, "That's right. With our statuses, it's inconvenient for us to directly make our way to the Tian Yuan clan. There'll be people making fun of us if we wipe out the Tian Yuan clan like that. And the divine kingdom of Ping Tian won't allow something like that to happen. We should use a method that does not involve becoming a laughing stock to wipe out the Tian Yuan clan. After all, we're a famed sect in the southern region. How can we just let a nobody take advantage of us to propel his own renown?" Chapter 1909, Gathering of Experts. Time passed silently, and the news of the arrival of the three god kings from the Earth Spirit sect naturally was unable to stay hidden. The divine kingdom of Ping Tian actively spread the news so that they could rid the unease from their countless citizens about the Empyrean demon cult's invasion. However, the arrival of the three god kings also led to a fervent discussion. Many people discussed whether the three god kings would personally stand forward to demand an explanation from Jian Chen, who had injured their protectors. The entire divine kingdom discussed this matter. Everyone in the Tian Yuan clan became heavy-hearted when they received this news. They immediately entered a high state of caution. However, the three god kings rarely appeared in the public after they entered the royal palace. At the same time, they did not behave as everyone had expected. They did not personally pay a visit to the Tian Yuan clan. Everyone in the Tian Yuan clan naturally let out a sigh of relief in response as they secretly rejoiced. As time went on, more and more large organizations sent reinforcements. They all gathered in the royal capital. From the Heavenly Moon Empire that was the closest to the divine kingdom of Ping Tian, the other sect that was just as well known as the Earth Spirit sect, the Taoist sect of Calm Clouds, had also sent three god kings. The imperial family of the Heavenly Moon Empire had also sent reinforcements. They sent two subjects that had arrived in luxurious carriages. They shot through the streets of the royal capital as a blur. The royal capital of the divine kingdom of Pingtian was now a gathering place of experts. Many large organizations in the southern region had sent reinforcements. Some of the citizens who stayed within the royal capital could clearly feel the suffocating pressure from the royal palace. It was daunting. Several days later, groups of special messengers left the royal palace with lightning speed. They hurried to the 6 great provincial cities to pass on the divine king's orders as quickly as possible and summon all the overgods. Naturally, the Tian Yuan clan received orders from a group of special messengers as well, but they all became stuck in a dilemma. They all frowned. The patriarch is still in seclusion. What do we do? Do we disturb him? Mo Ling, Ando Fu, Nanyun Tong, and the elders all had no idea what to do. This was because before he entered seclusion, Jian Chen had specially ordered them to not disturb him unless the clan faced a situation of life or death. How can the summons of the divine king be more important than my brother's cultivation? His period of seclusion this time is extremely important. Don't disturb him. Sacred Feather emerged from the forbidden grounds at this moment and said coldly. He possessed a natural sense of pride, so he completely treated the summons of the divine king as nothing. But the divine king has ordered the patriarch to hurry to the royal palace within 3 days. If he doesn't go, Mo Ling and Ando Fu were troubled. If my brother doesn't come out of seclusion in 3 days, send a person to inform the divine king. Tell him that my brother is in a crucial moment of cultivation, so he can't go, Sacred Feather said firmly. This, Mo Ling and Ando Fu looked at each other. At this moment, Jian Chen sat in a secret room underground. He clenched a fist-sized plant core as he absorbed its energy and essence. This was already the 3rd core he had absorbed. The 2 before had provided him with extremely powerful and pure energy. His chaotic Niden had already reached the limits of the 10th layer now. He was close to breaking through. If my estimates are correct, as long as I absorb the core in my hand, my chaotic Niden will surpass its limits and explode. It'll be the time to condense the chaotic Niden for the 11th layer when that happens. Once my chaotic body reaches the 11th layer, I would have the battle prowess of a god king. Although it's nowhere near the level where I don't have to worry at all when I face off against the Empyrean demon cult, I'll be able to protect myself better at the very least. Jian Chen thought. He was slightly eager. However, in the next moment, he discarded his thoughts and completely devoted himself to cultivation. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye, and Jian Chen still had not emerged. Without any other options, the Tian Yuan clan could only contact the people that they had already sent to the royal capital. At this moment, all the experts that originated from the various organizations of the ancient empires had gathered in a grand hall. There were several hundred of them, and all of them were over-gods at the very least. Just the god-kings among them amounted to over 20. With so many god-kings gathered together, the presence they gave off was heavy and terrifying. The air in the hall basically felt frozen. Only overgods possessed the strength to remain there under such pressure. Gods would not even be able to approach the place. And this was with their presences concealed. Otherwise, if the terrifying presences of over 20 god-kings merged together, the pressure would be so great that even many overgods would not be able to endure it. The god-kings from the Heavenly Moon Empire only amounted to 8. The others came from 3 other ancient empires. 4 of the 6 ancient empires in the southern region had sent reinforcements. However, as the Heavenly Moon Empire was the closest to the divine kingdom of Pingtian, the Heavenly Moon Empire would be the most threatened out of the 6 ancient empires once the divine kingdom of Pingtian fell. As a result, the Heavenly Moon Empire had sent the most amount of people. Above them was the divine king, Pingtian. He wore his dragon robes as he sat on his dragon throne. He glanced at the experts below and thanked them all for coming with a calm smile. None of the god kings below put on any airs. They all smiled and exchanged pleasantries with the Divine King extremely politely. They seemed to be fawning over him. I heard there's an impressive overgod from the Divine Kingdom of Pingtian. He easily defeated 2 late overgods from the Earth Spirit sect while they were working together. For the Divine Kingdom of Pingtian to possess a talent like that, it's difficult for you to not try to prosper. At this moment, a middle-aged man seated below spoke. He glanced at the 3 elders of the Earth Spirit sect with a smile that hid deep meaning. The middle-aged man had also come from the Heavenly Moon Empire. He was an elder of the Taoist sect of Calm Clouds, and his name was Song Gu. It said that the 2 late overgods were 2 that were specially nurtured by the Earth Spirit sect. Not only did they possess powerful battle skills and impressive cultivation methods, but they were even a step away from God King as well. It's just a pity that these 2 overgods couldn't even injure him. I wonder who their master is, who is actually so useless that they can produce such lackluster disciples. A young man immediately followed up after Song Gu. He looked in the direction of the Earth Spirit sect in provocation. The young man was also an elder of the Taoist sect of Calm Clouds. His name was Chan Bufan. Ha ha ha, looks like the disciples of the Earth Spirit sect of this generation really don't possess much talent at all, or it's like what Elder Chang has said, their master is just useless. The 3rd elder from the Taoist sect of Calm Clouds also added, and he too stared at the 3 elders of the Earth Spirit sect in provocation. The faces of the 3 elders became extremely sunken. Although they were like the Taoist sect of Calm Clouds, one of the 2 great sects of the Heavenly Moon Empire, their relationship was nowhere close to amicable. They had always been secretly fighting with each other, trying to get the better of the other. Now that an opportunity had presented itself to the people from the Taoist sect of Calm Clouds, they naturally had to mock the Earth Spirit sect properly. Chapter 1910, Jian Chen absent. It's said that Jian Chen possesses the strength to make it onto the 3,000 overgods plaque. Out of the countless overgods across the saints' world, there are only 3,000 of them. Every single one of them is extremely powerful among people of their own cultivation. They're all prodigies raised by those peak organizations. Although our Earth Spirit sect possesses some strength, that's only limited to the southern region of the Cloud Plain. How can we be compared to those supreme prodigies nurtured by peak organizations? Elder Mu from the Earth Spirit sect stood up and said sternly. As the master of the protectors, he needed to step up and say something in response to the scoffings from the Taoist sect of Calm Clouds so that he could protect the pride of the Earth Spirit sect and his own to his greatest ability. Afterwards, Elder Mu stared at the 3 elders coldly and said with a sunken face, "If you feel my disciples are useless, you are most welcome to have the disciple you are the proudest of to spar with Jian Chen. Let's see whether your great disciples are Jian Chen's opponent or not. If your people can win, I'll admit my disciples are useless." That's right. You people from the Taoist sect of Calm Clouds can't just talk like that if you don't have what it takes to back it up. You better get your own disciples to fight the patriarch of the Tian Yuan clan first. It's not like it'll be too late for you to scoff at our Earth Spirit sect once you achieve victory. I just fear that the Taoist sect of Calm Clouds will lack that bravery because they know as well that even if they scour their entire sect, they won't be able to find an overgod that can defeat the patriarch of the Tian Yuan clan. Of course, that's unless you use many overgods to cast down a killing formation. Only then will there be a chance at victory, but our Earth Spirit sect can do something like that easily as well. The other 2 elders did not tarry. They both spoke out as well. With so many God Kings gathered here today, they needed to stand up for the Earth Spirit sect. As a result, even though they were very reluctant, they had to describe Jian Chen's strength as worthy of making it onto the Overgod's plaque. If the protectors of the Earth Spirit sect had been defeated by an expert from the Overgod's plaque, it would not be embarrassing in the slightest. Let alone their Earth Spirit sect and the Taoist sect of Calm Clouds, but even all the organizations that had come today did not possess a single disciple talented enough to defeat a person on the Over-God's plaque. However, the three elders from the Taoist sect of Calm Cloud burst into laughter instead when they heard the words of the elders from the Earth Spirit sect. Elder Song looked at the elders from the Earth Spirit sect like they were idiots and scoffed. Our Taoist sect of Calm Clouds is nowhere near as mighty as your Earth Spirit sect, purposefully becoming enemies with people on the Over-God's plaque. Our Taoist sect of Calm Clouds would much rather try to get on the good side of those prodigies, so why would we purposefully offend them? Only a brainless idiot would do something like that. The elders from the Earth Spirit sect turned crimson with rage as their fury rose from what Elder Song had said. Below, the protectors of the Earth Spirit sect also exhibited ugly expressions, as the trouble they had caused made the three elders suffer humiliation from the people of the Taoist sect of Calm Clouds. They felt shameful and wronged. Patriarch of the Tian Yuan clan, it's all because of you. I, Chen Chun, will remember you. I will make you pay 1,000-fold for the humiliation our Earth Spirit sect has suffered in public today, thought the woman with the fan stood within the crowd. Her eyes were extremely cold. At that moment, her hatred towards Jianchen really had reached an unprecedented level. The experts in the hall watched on as if they were watching a show. The grievances between the Earth Spirit sect and the Taoist sect of Calm Clouds did not get in the way of their interests, so they naturally would not interfere with the matter. Moreover, none of them would ever offend an Over-God on the Over-God's plaque for no reason, provided they did not get in the way of their interests too much. This was because if someone like that matured successfully, they would become a dominant figure in the saints' world as long as no accidents happened. There were quite a few people who had developed a deep interest in Jianchen. I never thought that in just a few decades, Jianchen would become someone who can make the Over-God's plaque. Weiner Yen was also in the crowd, gathered with the Over-Gods there. After hearing the elders' judgment of Jianchen, he became extremely dejected. Oh right, I wonder if the patriarch of the Tian Yuan clan is here. If you are, please show yourself. The three of us admire you greatly. Suddenly, one of the elders from the Taoist sect of Calm Clouds said to the Over-Gods below. He smiled as he spoke politely, scanning through the crowd in the meantime. With that, many elders from powerful organizations focused their attention on the group of Over-Gods. They also became somewhat curious. Only the three elders from the Earth Spirit sect remained seated there with pale faces. They were furious inside. However, no one stepped forward under the gazes of all the elders from large organizations. At this moment, an elder of the Tian Yuan clan entered the hall under the lead of the Royal Divine Army. He reported to the Divine King that Jianchen was unable to make it. With that, everyone seemed to understand why no one had stepped forward, and they no longer thought too much about it. However, the three elders from the Earth Spirit sect naturally developed hatred towards Jianchen after they had been completely made fun of by their enemies, the people from the Taoist sect of Calm Clouds. It was all because of Jianchen's matter. Elder Mu immediately snorted coldly and said, Jianchen sure is haughty. At such an important time, he's bold enough to miss the meeting. Does he think he's a supreme God King who has made it onto the God King's throne? He's looking down on the lot of us. Since Jianchen possesses the strength to make it onto the Over-God's plaque, he'll definitely be extraordinary as well when he becomes a God King. He does have some right to look down on us. However, the Divine King clearly sent out orders 3 days ago, yet he still dared to not come. He's looking down on the Divine King, Elder Fong from the Earth Spirit sect said steadily. Not only had he antagonized Jianchen against all the God Kings present, but he had also pulled the Divine King into the matter as well. The God Kings present all remained seated where they were. Their faces remained unchanged by what he had said. Naturally, they understood that the people from the Earth Spirit sect were antagonizing Jianchen on purpose in an attempt to use everyone against him. However, with their identities and knowledge, it was impossible for them to be provoked by a few words and start acting just like the elders wanted them to. The divine king on the throne waved his hand and dismissed the elder from the Tian Yuan clan. He did not become angered at all by Jian Chen's absence. He said calmly, "Since Jian Chen can't make it, let's just start the meeting. May I ask if you have plans against the attacks from the Empyrean demon cult?" You're tuning into the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.